This is a crazy story. There's a journalist who was investigating Joe Biden and what happened with Afghanistan and the pullout. The FBI raids his home and then he disappears, quits his job, and is just gone, apparently. We know some individuals who actually knew this guy. They reached out, no response. So maybe now that the news is broken, Rolling Stone's writing about it, Daily Mail's writing about it, maybe he'll pop up and be like, guys, you know, like someone stole my car and I went bankrupt and my wife left me. That's why I was away. Who knows? But right after he gets raided by the FBI, he just stops, cancels his project. No investigation on Joe Biden. Very interesting. The best part of this story was when Rolling Stone says, this may be the first time Joe Biden's FBI has raided a journalist. James O'Keefe would like to have a word with you, Rolling Stone. But yeah, still a very, very crazy story. So we'll talk about that. Plus, this one's my favorite. Oh, man. Stacey Abrams coming out and saying, abort the poor. That was just, wow. Okay. Here's what happens. The Democrats know abortion isn't a winning midterm issue. The economy is. So when Obama comes out and says, you got to talk about the economy, Stacey Abrams gets asked, I think it was by Joe Scarborough, and she's like, well, you know, abortion's economic. You know, women who don't want kids because they can't afford it. Well, abortion helps them save money. You know, they wouldn't care about the gas prices if they got rid of that kid. And it's just, you know, wow. Bravo. Okay. Abort the poor. In this story, you know, we talked about no-fault divorce a week or so ago. And here's my favorite development, because I didn't catch this one when the story dropped a week or so, or 2 weeks ago. But they refer to our very own Ian Crossland as a conservative commentator. I'm very impressed at the evolution of Ian. Ian, you're conservative now.
It's true. I'm a liberal
so
conservative.
You admit it.
Conservatively liberal.
All right. All right, so we'll talk about all that. But before we do, my friends, head over to StrongerBonesAndLife.com and pick up your ageless multi-collagen from BioTrust. This stuff is fantastic. You need collagen. It's a protein. It's good for your joint, hair, skin, nails, keeps your bones nice and strong, and makes you look young and supple. Maybe you should go. Here's some advice. Go to your girlfriend and tell her you really need this. And I'm kidding. Please don't do that. But go to StrongerBonesAndLife.com if you do want to actually be nice and get something for your friends or yourself to help stay healthy. Go to StrongerBonesAndLife.com. You'll get a 60-day money-back guarantee. The healthy aging support of collagen in its ideal forms. 5 key types of collagens you need from 4 different sources. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides, meaning better and faster digestibility to support maximum benefits. And for every order today, BioTrust will donate a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through their partnership with NoKidHungry.org. To date, BioTrust has provided over 5 million meals to hungry kids. Please help BioTrust hit their goal of 6 million meals this year. It is non-GMO and free of artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, and sweeteners, free of gluten, antibiotics, and RBGH and RBST. Nearly no odor or taste, unlike bone broth or other collagen supplements, and there's no clumping. You'll get free shipping with every order, free VIP live health and fitness coaching from BioTrust's team of expert nutrition and health coaches for life with every order, and their free e-report, the 14 foods for amazing skin with every order. So again, head over to StrongerBonesAndLife.com. Pick up the collagen if you want to take care of yourself as you get older. But also don't forget to head over to Timcast.com and become a member to get access to the exclusive Uncensored show, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. You can find that on our website. And check out the latest Cast Castle vlog episode starring Rusty Cage and Blair White. We brought them in, and it's deliciously offensive, and I think it's good fun and fantastic. But I'm not going to pretend we're doing like Hollywood quality productions here. Guys, the actors on this show, it's literally just the crew at the office. So, you know, quite literally the guy who we hired to fly a drone is acting, and you're getting what you get. But hey, we're working on it. You know, we got to get the concept going, get better at what we do, and figure it out. We're not Hollywood. We want to be better than they are. We got to start somewhere. If you want to support our work in building culture, go to timcast.com, become a member. We got a new song coming out November 4th. You're not going to want to miss that one. It's going to be fantastic. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show, be the notification, because YouTube absolutely is censoring us. That's what everybody's saying. It's crazy. Everybody's talking about it. At least that's what I was told. So share the video on social media. Joining us today to talk about this and more is Seth Weathers.
Good to be here.
Who are you?
I am a recovering political consultant. I spent years running campaigns. I was one of the first people that Donald Trump hired when he decided to run for president in 2015. I was nuts enough to do that and to believe that he was going to be president. Since then, recently I've started a company, freedomspeaksup.com. We are a conservative lifestyle brand that we are our goal is essentially to tell people be uncensorable. And when people see others out wearing shirts that have a statement on it, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's serious. The goal is to let people know there's other people that think like you and be unafraid to speak up. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. We also got the t-shirt vendor.
Hey guys, I think my lifestyle is more of a troll anarchist kind of a lifestyle brand when it comes to my t-shirt that of course I have here. And that's why today I'm wearing my Trust the Science shirt on the eve of the CDC just having another mind-boggling decision for children today. And that's why I'm wearing a shirt that says Trust the Science, just like you did with DDT, cigarettes, fluoride, asbestos, glyphosate, sugar, and I could keep going on. And if you are not a trusting peasant, you could get the shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com because you do. I am here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, hello, everyone. Your friendly neighborhood liberal, conservative, authoritarian, libertarian coming at you, Ian Crossland. Happy to be here.
I think, what Jezebel wrote that Ian Crossland, they were like, on Tim Pool's show, conservative commentator Ian Crossland. I'm just like, tell me you don't watch the show without telling me you don't watch the show.
Yeah, I'm glad you tweeted it out because there's 100 comments of people laughing. It's just like, what in the hell? Did they even watch the show? It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I will occasionally take a conservative viewpoint. For sure, because they're warranted. But I think you got to be balanced.
Well, we got to read this story. It's going to be fun. We also got Serge over here pressing all the buttons.
That's right. Here I am. Find me at Serge.com.
All right, let's jump into this first story from Rolling Stone. FBI raids star ABC News producer's home. Emmy-winning producer James Gordon Meek had his home raided by the FBI. His colleagues say they haven't seen him since. And this was apparently back in April. Look at this. At a minute before 5 a.m. on April 27th, ABC News' James Gordon Meek fired off a tweet with a single word, facts. The network's national security investigative producer was responding to a former CIA agent, Polymeropoulos, take that the Ukrainian military, with assistance from the U.S., was thriving against Russian forces. Polymeropoulos' tweet, filled with acronyms and indecipherable to the layperson, like ITPs, UW, and EW, was itself a missive from the Washington Post Pentagon reporter, Dan Lamont, blah, 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 blah. Okay, really what the story comes down to is, I think we have this tweet here. Let's just go through the quick bullet points on this one. Outside ABC News' James Gordon Meek's apartment, a surreal scene was unfolding, and his storied career was about to come crashing down. Multiple sources familiar with the matter say the Emmy-winning producer was the target of an FBI raid. None of his neighbors with whom Rolling Stone spoke with have seen him since. His neighbors haven't even seen him. An ABC representative tells Rolling Stone he resigned very abruptly and hasn't worked for us for months. It's unclear what story, if any, would have put Meek in the FBI's crosshairs. Well, not necessarily. It's been reported by several outlets. He was investigating Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan and then abruptly vanished. Now, here's the best part of the story. Rolling Stone says Meek has been charged with no crime, but independent observers believe the raid is among the first and quite possibly the first to be carried out on a journalist by the Biden administration. Okay, well, I would just like to point out James O'Keefe does exist. He was also raided by the FBI. But here's the story, man. This is a troubling trend. Now, I don't know what happened to this guy. Okay, the report was that he was investigating Afghanistan. Very, very bad day for Biden. And I'll remind you, when you look at the aggregate polling, that's when Joe Biden went underwater. His approval rating was higher than his disapproval. Afghanistan happened. He flipped. The Democrats right now, they're desperately trying to reverse that narrative and win back support. But the economy is it's beating them down. Then you get a guy who's working on this big story. Gone.
Well, Rolling Stones is also reporting right now that he might have had classified information, and that's why the FBI raided him. But we have to understand that what's happening here is not out of the playbook, out of the Democratic Party. When Joe Biden was vice president, the Obama administration terrified newsrooms just like they did weddings and hospitals all throughout the Middle East with their drone strikes. And Obama used the Espionage Act more than any other president before him to specifically put a record number of journalists and their sources in jail. So we have to understand here, this is the continuation of the Obama DOJ FBI that prosecutes people that want to do real journalism. They went after James O'Keefe. They probably went after this guy. We don't know all the details here, but he quit his job. He didn't publish his book and he disappeared. People can't find him. Of course, some people are going to go off and say, oh, maybe they Michael Hastings him, which is another journalist that also died under the Obama administration, also had allegedly classified information.
During the Obama administration. While investigating. Who was he investigating?
He was investigating a top general that was, that he was going to expose. And he came out and said, hey, he tried to use his neighbor's car. He said they had people following him. So again, what the Democrats are what they could possibly do is unspeakable with what they already did with the Obama administration.
Okay, what we know from the Obama administration is that more journalists and whistleblowers were charged under the Espionage Act and other charges than all of the presidents combined. What we know about Michael Hastings is that was it Hayden? You want to Google this?
No, it wasn't Hayden. It was another top.
He was investigating
general.
some top general guy. And then one day he shows up to his neighbor's house saying he needs to borrow their car, or something about he saw someone under his car tampering with it. The next thing we hear
John Brennan.
There you go.
CIA Director John Brennan was being investigated.
The next thing we hear is that he was speeding down Wilshire Boulevard uncontrollably and slammed into a tree, and his car burst into flames.
Yeah, like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So one people were like, maybe he was drunk and he just depressed and suicidal and just hit the gas and just didn't let go. Other people are like, maybe they wired
He went
his
to
car.
his neighbors and said, my car was tinkered with. Can I use your car, please? Because someone was messing with my car. It's not the same. And the neighbor said no.
Do you guys remember when Seamus, Freedom Tunes, that he produced a debunking left-wing memes video? And there's this researcher who made the pyramid. It's the reverse pyramid of conspiracy theories. Have you seen this?
I don't think I've seen that one.
This pyramid shows, like, on the bottom it's conspiracy theories that are true, and it's like, MK Ultra had happened. We know the documents are declassified. And then at the top it's like anti-Semitic point of no return. And the funny thing is, it says something like Epstein is true at the bottom, and then it says powerful individuals trafficking children is considered a conspiracy theory. And it's like, bro, that's the same thing. Like, the Epstein thing, that's what it is. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison for trafficking minors. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. She's been convicted. Now, who was it? I'd love to see that list. But here's the funny thing. Like, after something like that happens, one of my favorite stories is I think it was Chris Raygun, tweeting that when Epstein dies, he gets into an Uber and the Uber driver turns around immediately and says, yo, that guy didn't kill himself. And like, that was the cultural shock when that story dropped. So when you hear that a national security reporter, here's the story from the Daily Mail, check this out. ABC national security producer hasn't been seen since April when FBI mysteriously raided his house. Journalist was writing a book about Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. He abruptly quits, tells the guy he's working the book with, I'm out, I don't have anything to do with this. And now his neighbors haven't seen him. His colleagues haven't heard from him. Someone we work with, I'm going to keep the details, vague because we're trying to investigate this, tried reaching out because they know him and they're like, yo, he's not responding. So I don't know. But let me just tell you, the conspiracy theorists scored a whole bunch of points over the past couple of years. We are well past the point where we just dismiss these things as far-fetched. A journalist was raided by the FBI and went missing. James O'Keefe was raided by the FBI. His saving grace is that he's famous and people got their eye on him. But I wouldn't be surprised if something really crazy happened here. Something really crazy.
I'm just realizing that this was in April. So has there been research to know, like, what's his family say? Like, where is he? Like, I mean, is the guy like truly missing from his family, friends, everyone? I mean, that
his neighbors haven't seen him. They're saying, like, apparently they reached out to him. So that's why we're here talking about it.
Yeah, I'd like to know what his family has to say, or
if
who they are.
Family, yeah.
Don't know.
You would think if he was married or had kids that they would have been at least vocal about it. And if they're not vocal about it, then they're in on it.
Or they're scared.
Right. Yeah. Meaning that they're in on it. Like they know something.
Well, look,
happening.
I mean, when the FBI shows up at your door, breaks it down, and points a gun at your family member's head, I mean, that's a message right there. And when you do that to journalists, when you do that to people that whistleblow, when you do that when people try to get accurate, truthful information to the general public, you're not on the good side here. I mean, I think it's pretty clear and obvious. We used to have journalists. We used to have whistleblowers. We used to have things like, Watergate. We used to have, there's another, comment here that's an adult comment linked to, of course, a whistleblower that goes deep, a part of someone's jugular. Those situations, those scenarios, those individuals can exist under this administration, mainly because of just how brutal they are towards journalism.
It's like, Tim, you mentioned that maybe he had classified information that I think
Luke mentioned that.
Or you mentioned-
Rolling Stone is
yeah.
reporting that there's a potential that he had classified information and was going to probably blow the whistle on something even more nefarious to already a very nefarious, nasty story. And another thing that kind of boggles my mind is, why are journalists puppeteering? Why are they cheerleading this administration that is literally punishing them, that is spreading fear in the newsroom, that is terrifying them from even doing their job? I don't understand it. I do on some levels, but the general public should be asking some serious questions.
What's that phenomenon where slaves will start to love their slave master?
Stockholm
Yeah,
syndrome?
Stockholm syndrome. It's like journalists are in a state of such shock and terror that they're being the government's spying on their like.
I don't think most journalists are afraid of this government. I think they're a little too cozy.
Yeah.
I
Well, I mean, no. I think technically Ian's right. Journalists are in a state of fear. The people you're referring to, Seth, aren't journalists. They're,
Fair.
government shills
Fair.
masquerading as journalists. So the people who are actual journalists, this is what happens to them.
Yeah.
You get raided by the FBI. I mean, look at James O'Keefe. The FBI raided his house. The whole thing is nonsense. And then the Rolling Stone has the nerve to be like, this could be the first time. It's like, bro.
Yeah. The way they phrase that, among the first. What does that even mean?
Or possibly the first. And when people point out James O'Keefe got raided, the response from all of these people on Twitter is, he's not a journalist.
No, he is a journalist. James O'Keefe is a journalist.
And he has news organizations defending him. These people don't like him personally, so they say he's not a journalist. But it's like, just because you don't like the things he writes. The same thing is true of Alex Jones. Guess what? Surprise, surprise, Alex Jones is a journalist. Oh no, now they're all angry saying, don't you dare conflate the work we do with Alex Jones. If you break down what they are legally doing and their protections, yeah, Alex Jones is a journalist. Sorry, that's just a reality. But I got to tell you this. When you get these corporate shill, quote unquote, journalists that make fake news up and claim things like Ian Crossland is a conservative, and then have the nerve to insult Alex Jones, harumph, I say. I find it laughable.
Shout out to Jezebel for writing that bizarre article, by the way. Whoever that was.
Conservative commentator.
We
Ian
live in
Crossland.
an interesting society where people appreciate the government's ability to classify documents. If they didn't have that ability, we'd have been overrun and conquered because we would have lost wars like World War II. You need secrecy. But at the same time, we also glorify journalists that expose the corruption within the government by, maybe not receiving classified documents, but I don't know how they, like Julian Assange, for instance, he received that was a classified video, the collateral murder, where it shows the soldiers just from a helicopter gunning people down, gunning civilians down.
And look what they do to Assange.
Yes. And so we've got both dichotomies. Like, there's heroes on, you could, and they're at odds, but they're both on our side. Very strange.
I think the U.S. government is full of criminals and corrupt psychopaths. And then you have people like Julian Assange who are like, I'm going to expose evil people.
Right. Technically, he's a criminal. Like, he got classified information and revealed it.
No, he's not a criminal at all.
I don't think that was legal.
It is actually. He's protected by the First Amendment, and he's not even an American citizen.
To receive and disperse classified information, you're allowed to do that?
The New York Times does it every day.
Journalist. Yeah.
There's whistleblower laws that protect individuals that come forward and say, hey, there was some wrongdoing in our government. Many people tried to go through the official avenues, and they, of course, were told to shut up.
Well, he just can't have stolen the documents himself. But if they're provided to him, he has the ability. Again,
Even
like
if
he
he
said, that's what journalism, they do that all the time.
But even if he knows they're stolen?
Yes.
That's right.
I can't commit the crime, but if someone else does it for me, then I'm on the clear?
If they didn't direct them to.
Yeah, right. You can't. You can't be. If you're a journalist and someone comes to you and says, "I have a diary," you can be like, "Okay, I'll take it."
Yeah.
Well, they look at Trump's tax records. What's her name? Put them on her show. Yes, I forgot about her. How quick she time flies. But yeah, she put them on her show, and was heralded for it.
Yeah, they were cheering. I mean, this is really funny. There's some leftist organization filmed some Republican congressman or something undercover, pretending to be a Trump supporter, saying we need pardons for the January 6th defendants. And he's like, well, we got to win the White House first. And they're all like, oh, we got him. And it's just like, and how is what James O'Keefe does not journalism? Like, you do this, the same thing, and then claim Veritas is, get that, is partisan BS. What we need, I would say, probably the only real news organization in the country right now. Okay, that's not fair, but the most prominent national level is Veritas.
Yeah.
And I say it's not fair. I wouldn't call any of the local news outlets, news organizations. I wouldn't call, you call them news outlets. Let's call media, local media disbursement. The New York Times, please. Propaganda narrative garbage. There's a new outlet that came out, Semaphore. And it's Ben Smith, formerly of BuzzFeed and the New York Times, along with a bunch of other people who I think are just terrible. But they're doing reporting now, and they've done some interviews that are actually quite good. And one of them is this guy, this opinion editor from the New York Times who got fired for publishing Tom Cotton's op-ed calling for the military to, stop the riots. And he's basically like, they're trying to pander to progressives. They had an opportunity to speak out, to call it out and say, we're not here to pander to you, but they chose, we're going to be Mother Jones on steroids or whatever. That's the New York Times. It's not news.
It's not investigative journalism. There's like, when you talk about journalism, you talk about there's reporting where people are like, hey, I got a piece of paper. I'm going to read it to you and report on what I saw. Then there's people that investigate. Investigative journalists are like, here's a piece of paper. I got to figure out where it came from, who wrote it. And they'll do all this work behind the scenes to figure stuff out. That's Project Veritas. They're investigators. Now, New York Times, Kylie Chung from Jezebel, who wrote this weird article about me, calling me conservative, misquoting me, is not an investigative journalist. Maybe you could call her a journalist because she wrote in a journal that's now online. But, we're
going to walk our way to that story because first we got to talk about this one from Timcast.com. Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams says abortion can help address inflation issues. Why, that's right. If you're concerned about the rising costs for your household, consider killing your unborn child. That's the news, apparently. So, she said you can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child, Abrams continued, adding that we don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out. Abrams avoided offering policy solutions to counter inflation, instead saying that a governor can address housing prices, a governor can address the cost of education, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's the point. We used to have institutions in this country to make sure that if a woman got pregnant, that there was a means and resources made available to her, and that was called marriage. That we had shotgun weddings. You guys know about that, right? Mm-hmm. Dude would get a girl pregnant, the dad would go, "You're marrying my daughter," and that's a trope. It's a meme. Mm-hmm. But once they break down that institution, you now have women who are like, "Oh no, I got pregnant, and the guy has abandoned me." Okay, there's supposed to be child support laws and payments for a reason. Stacey Abrams could offer up, that. Instead, she's like, women are concerned about the cost of goods because they're about to have a baby. Has she considered that perhaps the reason some women might not want the pregnancy is that they fear not being able to afford it? And so the issue isn't that they should abort the baby. They may actually really want the kid. That's how insane and nightmarish this is. So
how about we abort inflation? That might be a good start if it's a financial concern.
Yeah, we can get rid of that. Maybe we can deal with fractional reserve banking policies, quantitative easing, the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, how about you just stop printing money out of thin air, giving it to the biggest companies on Wall Street? How about you just stop spending money willy-nilly on stupid projects? And then maybe, people could afford having children and you don't have to abort them, which is absolutely crazy. Seth, you're from Georgia. Yeah. You got to get in this. Get in, come on.
This is not the
get
reason
in on
to bring up
Stacey
me being
Abrams
from
right
Georgia.
now.
Okay, this is an embarrassment, and you're putting it on the national stage for me right now. It's Stacey Abrams is a mess, but fortunately, based on what I'm seeing on the ground there, she's not going to win this race. She's going to go directly from this gubernatorial race to she will be running for president shortly after. I think she actually tries in 2024. I really do think she finds a way into that, because who knows what happens with Biden.
I wouldn't disagree. They don't have anybody. I mean, in fact, what was the latest polling? Like only 24% of people, only 24 people, I believe it. No, only 24% of people said they would vote for him at this point. There was a couple polls. One said 33% of people would vote for him. So they need anybody they can get.
You got Buttigieg, but he talks like this. And you're like, come on, it's just Obama type 2.0.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
He doesn't have the charisma of Obama.
I know.
And Stacey Abrams, she's an election denier.
This is true.
She's an election denier. I can't support an election denier. No. So I watched the media talk about election deniers all day and night, and then I saw this viral video of Stacey Abrams, and then I saw another viral video. I was like, oh man,
she's dangerous for society.
That's right. It's very dangerous to democracy.
Yes.
That she denies elections.
What election did Stacey deny?
She denied. I think she may have denied 2016, but
2018.
No, 2016. The Hillary Clinton and
she may have, but she denied her own loss.
Right.
I'm saying governor in Georgia
before she even got to denying that she lost and refusing to accept the results of her own election. I think she may have been a 2016 denier as well.
Did she say she lost her 2018 election, then claimed that it was fallacious? rigged. She claimed.
Oh
that the
yeah, she
election
claimed there was
rigged.
fraud and manipulation.
Voter
and that-
suppression.
Well, yeah.
We had the highest black voter suppression specifically in the election year she ran. We had the highest black turnout in Georgia history, but it was the same year that voter suppression kept her from winning. I mean, it's just all BS.
Even right now, voter turnout in Georgia is higher
Through the
than when it
roof.
was. It's through the roof.
Yes.
Yep.
73% higher at this point in the election than 2018. That's incredible. That's nuts.
And they're
higher
all
than in.
and they're all voting Kemp, huh?
Well, I don't know about all of them, but I do think that Kemp wins, and I think he wins by a decent margin. I think we're in the 7 to 10 range.
What led
Percentage.
to so many people voting
In this election?
more than ever? Do you
I-
think there was a lot of efforts to try to get people to vote? Do you think it's mail-in ballots? Do you think it's maybe people moving down to Georgia?
No, all right, I think obviously there's a lot of efforts all over trying to get people to turn out and vote. But I think right now you're seeing people that normally were not paying attention. I'm seeing this personally just from friend groups, et cetera. But people that weren't necessarily paying attention are like, what the hell? There's a lot happening here, and I don't like it. And
Yeah.
I think you're seeing people turn up, and people that were not so political before, they're maybe not speaking out about it a lot because they're kind of afraid of backlash, but they're getting out to vote. And I think that we're going to see. I think the polls are tightening as we get closer to the race in Republican favor, which tends to typically happen. I think we're going to see actually I think we're going to have a pretty big Republican victory in November.
Oh, the Real Clear Politics national average in the generic ballot jumped by like 2 points today. So I'm doing a segment and I grabbed the RCP average and it was 2.8, and I was like, oh look, they jumped 1 point. And then I'm like, so I start recording. 15 minutes in, when I load Real Clear Politics, it refreshes, and now it's at 3.1. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
it jumped even more in the time that I started talking about it. So,
That national aggregate poll.
yeah, so it's the generic ballot aggregate. So all these different polls ask people, if you were going to vote in the midterms, would it be a Republican or a Democrat? These are not swing district polls.
Yeah.
They're asking AOC's district, who are you going to vote for? So when you see at the national level a 3 or 4 point swing for Republicans, this
It's significant.
yeah.
I think Georgia, at minimum, we will pick up one congressional seat in an already red state. So, and one out of 15 congressional seats, that's pretty significant.
I gotta imagine that Biden's almost refusal to talk about inflation is like gotta be driving people insane. Because it's obvious with gas prices going up, food prices going up, that there's a big inflation issue right now. And like Biden, whenever he's asked about it, what I see, he just kind of acts like it's not that big of a deal. It's like, oh, it's a global thing. It's not, but like, duh. But also, America is the leading global economy, so it's an American thing. The global economy is an American thing.
Well, now
by design.
Saudi Arabia
now.
wants to join BRICS.
Yeah.
This has been circulating around for a little bit. That's the end of the petrodollar. And when that happens, America is in for a very, very rude
They're going to do a
awakening.
currency recall, probably get rid of the U.S. dollar, do a U.S. Central bank currency, and crypto, go full crypto, tax everybody, get people's dollars will be worth 1/100 of what they were worth.
That's not necessarily relevant to what's going to happen first. What's going to happen first is you are not going to be able to buy anything because we don't make anything. Clothing, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be like, hey, I need to buy a shirt. It's $50. You're going to go for a white T-shirt. That's right, because
stitch up your old T-shirts,
Hey,
stitch up your old socks.
As someone that sells a lot of shirts, there's actually a lot of trouble getting a hold of just the blank shirts to even print on right now, especially certain sizes. Like after COVID hit and everything, it became a real issue, just trying to get blanks.
the United States manufactures very little. We outsource to all these other countries, and we get away with it because the U.S. dollar is the settlement layer for the world, the petrodollar, the reserve currency. So people are like, I need U.S. dollars to do trade deals with other countries. You take a look at what happened to Gaddafi. He wants to trade in gold. He's gone. You look at Saddam Hussein. Started trading with euro. He's gone. But now the U.S. can't keep it up. And they tried to. That's what they do with the Middle East, the war, everything they do is a desperate attempt to maintain this global dominance. Now it's Saudi Arabia flipping off Joe Biden. And boy, are they panicking over this. Prices are going up and they can't do anything about it. If Saudi Arabia joins BRICS, that's it. U.S. dollars out. BRICS is already saying, we can use the rupee and we can use the ruble, we can use the yuan. We don't need U.S. dollars for settlements anymore. Bye-bye. In the United States, this means you're going to want to buy a computer. That computer is made in Southeast Asia. They're going to say, we don't want U.S. dollars. You don't make anything. What do we need your dollars for? What are we going to buy from you? Not right now, it's oil. Right now, they'll say, yeah, we need U.S. dollars because we want to buy oil. Once we lose this to BRICS, they're going to go, you got corn, I guess. I guess we can buy corn.
Yeah, we got food, wheat, and corn. You think that part of the reason why they're telling farmers in Europe to stop farming is because they're trying to set up a system where now people buy food from America?
Maybe they had a meeting where they're like, guys, we're going to lose the petrodollar. What do we do? What do we export the most? Corn and corn syrup? Yeah. Okay, tell our allies to stop making food. All right, I guess. If we don't have the petrodollar, we can withhold food. But we don't have fertilizer either. It comes from Russia. So good luck. And I mean, I suppose Ukraine as well. I don't know, man. It seems intentional, like they're going to starve people out, but it's going to be fun. The people who have farms and live in the middle of nowhere, who've been homesteading, they're going to go, what happened? And the people who live in cities are going to turn into like ravenous ghouls running around eating each other.
I don't know what the media like CNN and MSNBC have been framing Biden as when they talk to him about inflation, or if they even talk to him about inflation on those channels. Well, the clips I see of him, he's just like kind of space cadet on that stuff. Probably by intention. I think he's intentionally not addressing it.
I don't think Biden's intentionally saying or doing anything. He's pretty far out of it.
Yeah. I mean, Batacaf care, next no recent, true on a shabbat pressure. I don't think there's a lot of intention.
It's the Federal Reserve. I haven't heard him mention the Federal Reserve once. And it's the Federal Reserve is the issue. Like that there's this private company printing our money away. It's wicked.
Yep. Yeah. I wonder if you guys remember Zeitgeist?
Yeah, the movie.
You seen that one?
Yeah.
Seth?
I don't think I've actually seen it.
It's worth watching. It's
I was
2008
homeschooled.
movie.
I missed a lot.
So this is, like the early internet era of conspiracy theory videos going around, and you had like Loose Change, you had Zeitgeist, and in it talks about false flags and stuff. But I wonder if, what was it part one that talks about fractional reserve banking?
Probably. It was, they did like Jesus and like the history of religion. Then they did Federal Reserve fractional. What was the third one? They had like
I think it was conspiracy war.
I think it was 9/11.
Yeah.
9/11.
False flags.
9/11.
Yeah, so they talk about fractional reserve. I feel like that kind of documentary going viral in the early days of the internet had a huge impact on a lot of people, leads a lot of people to politicians like Ron Paul. And now all of a sudden you have a culture that outright understands fractional reserve banking enough to reject it, understands the Fed enough to reject it. And these people are going away. Like we're going to have these conversations all day, every day, and they would love it. The machine, the Fed, the establishment, the uniparty, they would love it if we stopped talking about how they manipulate the system and steal money from you.
But not only are they not going away, they took us off fractional reserve banking, and now we're on a no reserve banking system where they can print infinite amounts. They don't even need 90% or 10% in the bank to loan out 9 cents on the 10.
I got to wonder if what that means is they know the system's about to implode and they're extracting as much as possible.
And then they're going to do a currency recall. And then everybody's going to lose 1,000.
It's going to be BRICS. Look, if the U.S. loses this, the BRICS nations, OPEC plus, they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank because they can do, sure, maybe they'll do a currency recall, but it's pointless. The U.S. dollar is going to hit hyperinflation. We don't make anything. So let me just simplify it. We go to Korea and say, we want a bunch of laptops. And they say, what are you going to give for us? Or like, what are you going to give us for it? And then we say, we will give you dollars. And they go, what can I do with that? You can buy from us. And what can I buy from you? Corn.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, no thanks. The computers are worth more than the corn you have to offer. And they're going to go to China and say, we need the rare earth minerals. And China's going to be like, deal. They're going to go to Russia and OPEC and they're going to say, we need oil. And they're going to say, deal. And the U.S. is going to be like, but we shut down Keystone Pipeline and we stopped energy production. So we don't make energy. We don't make raw materials here anymore. We don't harvest them. We do a whole lot of nothing. I mean, look, we do some of that stuff in the U.S., but it's way down. Trump was trying to bring back manufacturing, and that's probably why. You can see what's happening. But I hope you guys are ready for a big ride. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Biden is a horrible diplomat. People don't like him. He's mean. He was a terrible military commander. He surrendered our military to the Taliban in Afghanistan, and people see the weakness and the idiocy and like the old frailty, and they just don't take him seriously. That's the vibe I'm getting. Saudi Arabians are like, if there's anyone we're ever going to cut ties with in the United States, it's Joe Biden. That guy's a dick.
It's not personality; it's the policies. It's what he's doing that's pushing forward. I could get in a whole rant about Saudi Arabia.
Let's jump to this next story because this is what I was trying to get to. Conservatives are coming for no-fault divorce from Jezebel. They say after the fall of Roe, right-wing media have been ratcheting up their rhetoric against no-fault divorce. Expect policy to follow. Bum, bum, bum. The reason why this story is from August, we're talking about now. I didn't catch this when it came out. but they refer to our good friend Ian Crossland as a conservative commentator. So let me show you first a little bit what they say in the beginning. I love this because they talk about us. Where are they getting into it?
I
They
thought
say
you were
something like-
an authoritarian liberal.
Yeah, you were right about that.
Yeah. They mention, here we go. In it, there's a popular conservative influencer, Tim Pool. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm conservative now. In a segment on a show, I love that one because they say it a lot, but conservatives are like, yeah, Tim Pool's not conservative. Tim Pool in a segment on his show was delightfully titled "No Fault Divorce Has Destroyed Men's Confidence in Marriage. Men Don't Want to Get Married Anymore." Yeah, that's true. There are studies that show that. We're not just like screaming into the wind. We're like reading things and going, wow, look at that. According to Pool, guys, can't you at least cite the thing I'm reading and not me? I'm not like fabricating things on the wall. They say we have no fault divorce laws to blame for the rise of prenuptial agreements. Yes. Duh. Okay, moving on. Which allegedly place men at risk of being robbed by gold-digging, thieving Jezebels. Oh, name drop, their own website.
Name drop.
Willfully ignoring how the court system has a long history of re-traumatizing and destroying the lives of rape and domestic violence victims. No, we know full well that's called fault, right? When a guy commits a crime against his wife, now there's fault, you can get a divorce. Congratulations, you understand what no fault means. The best part of the article, they write, in the same episode on Pool's show, conservative commentator Ian Crossland adds, quote, "We live in this culture where no-fault divorce is the law of the land. ... If young folks know they're in an environment where divorce is not an option, I firmly believe they're going to be more careful about who they choose to marry." Also, a very dry fact statement. I mean, it's a dry analysis. Ian didn't come out and say, arrest all of the women who try to get divorces. He said, if people can't divorce, they're probably going to be more careful about it.
Yeah, but I didn't say that. If I did, that was a misspeak. I said that if people can't get a no fault divorce, if people can't divorce, wait, what does it say? If young, first of all, I don't use the word folks. That's Obama speak, and I know I don't use that word, so they're misquoting me. They took a
That
dot,
is
dot,
weird.
dot, and cut.
We got to pull that up because I don't.
They didn't link to the story
Young
either,
folks?
so I don't know what they were referencing something from like 2 months ago. But it wasn't that if people can't get a divorce, it's if people can't get a no fault divorce, then they're going to be much more choosy about getting marriage. I don't ever advocate for people not being able to get divorced. That's complete insanity. If a guy beats his wife, she should leave him and make him pay.
Yeah.
So they actually did link to the segment, and it was with, Dr. Chloe Carmichael was on the show at the time. This is from a few months ago.
Hey,
I'm not going to play through it and try and find the point where Ian says the word folks or whatever. But I just love that this is how the media operates. They lie, they falsely frame things. But
Yeah, I might have used those words, but referencing that if they can't easily get a divorce. So I'm not saying that they're misquoting me. I'd have to reference the data.
Here's the point I want to make. Thank you, Jezebel, for giving us the opportunity to bring this subject back up. If no fault divorce is the law, then marriage does not exist.
Dude, you can marry a woman and she can leave you the next day and take half your money. Literally.
No, well, that's a bit extreme.
But she can't.
Typically,
Legally.
they would annul, not divorce.
What's the difference?
Annulment means it didn't happen. So if you get married to someone and the next day try to dissolve the marriage, they would probably file an annulment and not allow a divorce. Divorce, but there are circumstances where it could be like 6 months to a year, and all of a sudden now it's like they are entitled to half of your belongings. So marriage is a contract, between two people. The state certifies it to enforce the contract. And it used to be in the past, someone would be like, I don't like her. She's annoying and I don't want to be with her. And I'm like, yeah, well, too bad. You entered into a contract with this person. You have to now abide by this. So they create no fault divorce. And now it's basically dating. It's like, okay, there's no marriage anymore. It used to be that you would date. There'd be no binding contract or anything. And if you didn't like it, you'd walk away. Then you'd say, you know what? I think this is working. I'm willing to enter into a lifetime contract with you, enforced by the law. And they'd say, okay, and you do it. No fault divorce means marriage doesn't exist anymore for all intents and purposes, except for the purpose of stealing money from, one party or the other.
Yeah, it's an opt-in business contract where you split your finances. But the fact that one of the partners can cancel the contract and then take half of your wealth is complete insanity. Luke, if me and you started a company, so it is like this. If me and you started a company, it made $1 million. And
Is
then
that what the young kids are calling it these days?
Yeah, well, we'll just call it
You
a
want
company.
to start a company?
Luke, will you start
with
a
me?
company with me? And then if you decided to leave the company, I mean, I think you don't get any. The company still stands, and I have the rest. I still own.
He would
full control
own
of
it. I mean, in this, a better argument would be, I enter into a contract with Luke that I'll provide lumber for him in exchange for coal. And then one day Luke delivers coal, and then I say, I'm terminating the contract. And then Luke's like, what? You can't do that. You're supposed to give me the lumber. No, I had no fault contract.
Is coal sex? Is that what the
No, I'm just saying, like, in a marriage, you're basically saying we're going to build a life together. Whatever that may mean. Maybe the wife works, maybe the husband works, maybe they both work. But the reason why the assets are pooled together is that they're forming a family unit. They're going to have kids, and this is going to help a woman who gets pregnant and things like that. No fault divorce means that you can enter into a contract, share all your resources, and then someone can leave. So perhaps a better way to explain it is, you merge companies, and it's like, let's say you have a podcasting company, and a major media conglomerate worth tens of billions of dollars says, we're going to do a merger with you. And then you go, okay, but it's a no-fault merger. I can leave and take half of Warner Brothers. Like, that's
It's
insane.
so weird. And then you can also have kids with them, get married to a woman, have kids, and then she can just be like, one day be like, man, I did some ayahuasca, I had a change of heart. I'm going to leave you, take the kid, and make you pay me money.
Yep.
You're like, what in the hell is going on? How is this even like a romantic or like righteous thing?
There's
at that
no
point?
marriage there. There's no marriage there. At this point, with no-fault divorce, marriage is basically a tax bracket. That's it. It's like, oh, we're married now, so we get a tax benefit. But anyone can leave at any time, so there's no real contract. There's no point in doing it. What's the purpose?
Only that you can give your spouse money untaxed. That's it. It's just a business, basically a loophole almost at this point.
Well,
guess
child
technically.
custody is where a lot comes into all of these things, of course, as well. And then that, unfortunately, becomes, in a lot of cases, the leverage that's used in the divorce. Unfortunately, that becomes as much of more leverage, and oftentimes than even the money.
Like who gets the kid?
Yeah.
And how would that work? Like a person would say, you can have the house if I can have the kid kind of thing? Or vice versa?
I don't think that's what they would say in court.
It's like a bargaining chip? Like
Yes, kids being used as a bargaining chip in divorce has been going on probably since the beginning of divorce.
But it used to be that if you tried to get a divorce, a court would be like, no. It's like,
Right.
I want to get a divorce because, there were serious cases where women were being abused, but they couldn't prove it, and the courts would be like, no divorce, nice try, you can't do it. That's a problem. The solution isn't no-fault divorce. That's insane. Because now you're going to get fatherlessness, women who are getting abortions because they can't afford the kids instead of having a father who's around.
With
The fatherlessness leads to crime and poverty. And now we're seeing the ripple effect of this, where politicians like Stacey Abrams are like, the solution to a woman who can't afford a kid is to kill the kid. And that's insane. The solution used to be someone had to earn to provide for that kid. Now it's just like, well, that's not going to happen, so just kill it.
with fault divorce before 1969 or whenever it got introduced, and it was like the Bolsheviks, actually the Russian Bolsheviks are the ones who kind of created the idea of that you could just divorce with no fault. But before that, was it that guy would beat his wife and she couldn't prove it, so she couldn't leave him, kind of thing, and that was a problem? So they were like, we got to liberate these women.
I don't know if that was the main reason why they decided to enact no-fault divorce, but often you'd go to court and be like, we want to get a divorce, and the judge would be like, nope, I sentence you to marriage counseling. So they would not divorce. And then the argument was that women were being beaten, raped, and traumatized, and it led to suicides, and no-fault divorce resulted in a lowering of the suicide rate among many married women. Yeah, don't get married. That's the crazy thing. It's like, you have a problem with marriage? Don't get married.
Yeah.
But they do, and then they're like, hey, it's not working out for me. Let's destroy the institution instead of just realizing we made a mistake.
Like, I don't want to tell you don't get married. If you want to get married, but I don't want to get married right now because of no-fault divorce. Straight up. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't want someone to get married and then have the woman just be like, yeah, you're acting like a jerk. I'm out. Give me half of everything you've ever earned. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? No way, dude.
Yep.
And fortunately, I'm with a woman that feels the same way. And I think there are a lot of people out there that feel like
Was
that.
it Russell Brand was married to Katy Perry, right?
Yeah.
I think the story was that when they got divorced, he was entitled to a ton of money, and he was like, I don't want it.
Yep.
And I mean, like, Russell Brand is already rich, so he's like, I don't want to deal with, I don't care about that.
Yeah, but I still respect that.
For sure, but I mean, you see, this is the problem when you have guys who are like, you know what, I'm a man and I have money, so I don't need to take half of your stuff. Meanwhile, you look at every other case, the overwhelming majority, it's the woman being like, I get your stuff.
This is true.
Look at Mackenzie Bezos.
Yeah,
amazing.
seriously.
She got, what did she got half, right?
I think so.
Did she get half of?
Yeah.
Wasn't she
50 billion or something?
That's crazy.
Insanity.
And then she
And then
got
she starts-
married, and they got divorced.
Yeah.
Again,
she has a fourth
time.
She married some guy.
So did the guy take half of her 50 billion when they got divorced? Is that record?
I don't know if he took.
There's
I
no
don't-
way.
Yeah, because they weren't married long enough.
Yeah. And it was after the finances had been gained. She was married to Bezos prior while he was
Right.
building the wealth.
Yeah, but with a marriage, you get, if they divorce, don't you get all the money back to birth? Like everything you've ever been worth if you were
Yes.
from, yeah.
But it's not so
unless you
simple.
sign a
There's-
prenup.
Right.
You had assets coming into a marriage, and so those get taken into account as well. And states, it also varies state by state, what the rules are when it comes to that also.
It can be everything you've ever earned and owned. Like if you own a house and then you get married and then a couple years later you get divorced, yeah, you're out. That's the funniest thing. The trope about divorce is the husband always gets booted from the house. And then I watched Breaking Bad and I was like, oh, there you go. Because in Breaking Bad, she's like, get out. And he's like, no, it's my house. And the cops were like, it's his house. Have a nice day. And she was like, oh no. But it's crazy that these are the tropes that, you watch The Simpsons and the Van Houtens or whatever get divorced and the Mouse's dad just leaves. And he goes and lives in like a bachelor pad. And I'm like, why? It's his house. Yeah. All of these things, like, it's just, you grow up watching that stuff and you're like, what's the point of marriage? I got to tell you, man, feminism seems to have been one of the worst possible things for women. Not in the terms of like, they got their independence, they get their jobs. And this one's for you, young Turks and feminist websites. You can take this one because I know you're going to want to spin this one out of context. But the issue is now guys can bang whoever they want, whenever they want, with no strings attached. That's not a benefit to women.
No.
When regardless of what your mentality is, let's just break it down to simple probabilities and numbers. Women, when they get pregnant, they either have to have an abortion to get rid of it, or they have to have a child. Whereas if a guy goes to a party and there's a bunch of, people doing crazy stuff and he hooks up with a random chick because we're in this hookup culture and she doesn't know who he is and she gets pregnant, dude has nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. The problem is for the woman. The benefit is for the men. Guys can go and party and hook up and never have to think twice about it, but women do. So I don't know how this hookup culture benefited women, I guess, but
There was an article in the New York Post today that was titled, "I'm dating so many men, I need an Excel spreadsheet to organize my love life." And reading that story kind of was a little depressing, understanding our current landscape. But this is where we're at, and I think we have to, talk about these things from an open-minded way. Different people have their different experiences. They need to go through them in order to see that they were wrong. But I think also as a society, we should be considering the long-term kind of consequences for them and having those kind of conversations and debates.
Whoa, this is big. Someone just super chatted this right now. Ian was right about folks. Jezebel misquoted Seamus as Ian. The timestamp is 10303. Really? Can we 103? Oh, we only have the clip. I don't have the full episode, so I don't know where that would actually be in the episode. But it was Seamus who said it, and they claimed it was Ian who said it. That is interesting.
Is that illegal for them to do that?
It's not illegal. It's a civil tort, meaning it's the clips are actually broken down. Arranged marriage.
I miss that guy, by the way. I love you,
Seamus, where you at? It means so that's a false statement of fact. That's actually serious on Jezebel's part, and it's been up for months. We've now discovered that. The question now is damages.
Okay, damages is, girl that you wrote it, come on the show. Kylie Chung.
That's not.
come talk to me about this.
That's not how it works.
I want to get her on the spot.
Have you lost money or have you been damaged by them attributing Seamus to you? I mean, people are making fun of you. You need corrective marketing. And that's
I understand the process.
No, but
honestly, I'd rather just communicate with Kylie about it.
All right. Well,
in public.
Corrective marketing we may have to do for the show. And I mean this. So when it comes to defamation, damages in the form of corrective marketing means if one of the aspects of this show is we have Ian here for a reason. Ian is not your typical conservative commentator, quite the opposite. And we don't actually know what your background is. You're kind of a weird dude. And that works. Some people don't like you. Some people really like you. Some people say you roll ones. Some people say you roll 20s. Well, that's kind of the point. We don't want to make a cookie cutter show. So having opinions that we can't predict or having weird arguments sometimes makes it more interesting than your average run of the mill show. Mm-hmm. If they're now lying to people and saying that Ian is a conservative commentator, it is actually hurting the point of having you on the show. That means we have to do corrective marketing. I got to buy a Times Square billboard of you. That's really expensive.
It's going to cost Jezebel.
And Jezebel's going to have to pay for that. Because they're claiming you're a conservative when the point, I mean, Luke's not a conservative. Luke's an anarchist libertarian type. I'm weird, middle of the road. Ian is weird all over the place. And then we have frequently we get libertarian and conservative guests. But if they're going to make false statements of fact about one of our co-hosts, Seamus was a temporary co-host. He was a co-host on the show for quite a bit, but he's not a staff member here. He's just a recurring guest and friend of ours. He's not a part of it. He's not like a core staffer at the company. So I'm sorry, like. This might end up being very, very expensive. We got to look at how many views they got, how many shares it got. Then we got to do corrective marketing, and they're gonna have to pay for it.
Who super chatted that, by the way? Because thank you so much for that.
That was Tangent.
Tangent.
Who
Thanks
pointed this out.
Really a lot. That's
I don't know
awesome.
if I'm gonna try and play this because maybe it's here.
This is gonna give me like.
No, I don't know if this is. It's the timestamp he gave is in the full episode. We don't have that. We only have the clip. So
It's gonna be hard to find.
yeah.
This
So
is the
that'll be too
episode
hard
with
to find.
Chloe Carmichael. The Ping Trip famously took out of
that
context
is
on
great.
purpose to make a killer
That is great.
satire video.
Oh, it might be this. Let me play.
Well,
it.
you know, it's funny because we live in this culture where no fault divorce is the law of the land.
There it
And
is.
people will say things like, well, look how often marriage ends in divorce. How could you ever be in favor of social structures which disincentivize that or would, dissuade people from getting divorced? But I think what people often miss is if young folks know they're in an environment where divorce is not an option, I firmly believe they're going to be more careful about who they choose to marry. And I think also people are going to be more careful about their decision making in general when it comes to sexuality. A lot of people will start sleeping with someone, and as you've mentioned, that releases oxytocin and other hormones that bond you. And there are a lot of couples that end up together because they're sexually engaging with one another and they're bonding, but they're not actually really good for each other. And then at some point in the marriage, when the novelty of that person wears off, they get divorced. So I think,
Well, there it is. It was Seamus. Jezebel posted fake news, a false statement of fact about who said what. See, here's the thing. Seamus is a Catholic conservative.
He is.
So he has those opinions. Not Ian Crossland.
No, definitely.
Oh man, that's bad for the reputation of the show. I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to employ some corrective marketing here.
So you go after obviously the company. Well, I'm wondering Kylie Chung, the author, or the company Jezebel? Like who's on the hook for that?
Both of them.
Yeah, both.
They're both. Yeah. So Jezebel's supposed to have a standard here where, I mean, this is a brazen false statement of fact. They're not going to be able to hide behind opinion on this one. They outright said Ian Crossland's ads, quote. And not only that, the quote from Seamus was very long. He made a lot of interesting points. And it's interesting that they cut out a core element of what he said, which is the release of oxytocin, that people are engaging in hookup culture. They cut all that out, attribute it to Ian Crossland, who's not a conservative commentator. And now they've got a very, very direct false statement of fact. That's not an opinion statement, right? They said Ian Crossland did this thing. You did not do it. That's false. Oh, well. I'm going to have to call my lawyers after this. I didn't even catch that. Thank you to Tangent for pointing out it was Seamus who said that.
$965 million right now. We want it on the table.
Precedent is set.
Or else.
I'm paying his legal fees.
Yeah. 965 million.
The reality is
That's not too much. That's not too much with
You
what's going
should
on.
do something about it because you are in a position to do something. A lot of the little guys out there that have these kinds of things happen to them in these media organizations all the time, they don't really have the ability to fight back.
It felt very like I was being molested when I read that comment that I didn't make attributed to me. I was like, this is like a really creepy feeling. But I had the confidence knowing I was coming on the show tonight to talk about it. If I didn't have a show like this, that would have been devastating. Because I even started to question, did I say it?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
You'd
me?
have no way to fight back.
So here's what'll likely happen. Corrective marketing is damages, and in all seriousness, I'm going to have to talk with our marketing people and a lawyer about it to see how we deal with this because it's out there. It's out there. People are talking about it.
Yeah.
I tweeted about it, calling it absurd and laughable, and so we'll take a look at it. But the reality of what likely will happen is they will issue a correction, and that ends it.
Yeah.
If we have to do corrective marketing, we can then escalate and say, no, you got to pay damages because we got to pay for marketing because of what you said.
Well, if they're going to correct it, at least say that I'm a wild hippie.
Right.
If you're gonna categorize me as something, geez.
It depends
Mention
on-
DMT in the correction too.
It depends on how many hits it got. We'll have to. The corrective marketing will involve research into the reach that this did. So there's probably a bunch of YouTubers who talked about it and then started repeating the lie that Ian Crossland said these things he never said. So, hey man, it's one thing if they said, in our opinion, Ian Crossland, is a fascist or a conservative. You can't sue over that. It's a protected opinion. But this is an outright false statement of fact. that's like very, very obvious. So it's reckless disregard for the truth in that capacity. That was Seamus. We'll see. Let's jump to the next story, though. The next story is a video that I can't play because Ethan Klein said something that I'm surprised he didn't get banned over, which I'm not going to be able to play, but I can basically tell you what he said. Left-wing YouTube star Ethan Klein muses about another Holocaust against the Jews and says he hopes Ben Shapiro is killed first. Yeah.
It's crazy. What show is this on?
It's his show, H3 TV.
And they cut the feed.
Well, that's his producers because he's done stuff like this before where he's gotten suspended and banned for it or strikes. Themselves. Yeah, so I'll without playing what he says verbatim, because look, I think we'd get a strike if we played what Ethan Klein said, YouTube would strike us.
Right. You can probably play up right to the point where they cut right there.
Nah,
you don't think
but
so?
Look, I can do this. I can move it forward. He starts saying it.
Yeah.
His own producer then technical difficulties, please stand by, because there was another point where he called for an act of terror on Republicans.
Right.
I'm not exaggerating. Right. He literally said people should, go commit an act of terror. Right. And then he's like, okay, got a little carried away there. Mm-hmm. They bring it back. And then apparently after they bring it back, he just keeps talking.
He just says it again.
He says it again.
Yeah.
He clarifies.
Yeah.
So he was intimating that if there was another Holocaust, Ben should be the first one.
He said he hopes it's Ben first.
Now, that's something we said before the show. If him and Ben and a few other friends, they were all friends, hanging out in their room, playing cards or whatever, and then he said it as a joke, and they all laughed about, like, Ben's the guy that should get, and there was like, haha. But you go on TV when the guy's not even there to defend him, so that's a crazy thing to say.
Right.
Yeah. And he's also called for acts of terror against Republicans.
It's so weird. It's not funny.
Like, dude, these people are dangerous and insane.
Seriously.
I'm well past caring about their opinions. It's been years. There are so many people who try to play this middle of the road thing where they're like, well, let's hear what they have to say. I'm like, dude, called for a terror attack on a convention. Mm-hmm. He's now saying he hopes Ben gets gassed first. These people are nuts. And this is, I don't know if he's going to get banned over this.
He won't.
I doubt it.
Well, he did get a strike from the terror attack one.
Yeah, I mean, that one was a direct call to violence. This, I guess, would be a little more indirect. They get the weeds.
I don't think he should get a strike.
Yeah.
My point on this is basically just that the rules are in place because of people like him and other leftists. So based on what they expect, they should get a strike based on their own principles and own rules. But they don't have this. Their morality is whoever can accrue the most power. It's fascistic. The late David Graeber said that an element of the left has adopted the fascistic tenet of there is no truth but power. And that's clearly on display with people like him. Mm-hmm. When he got a strike for calling for an act of terror, he acted like he was outraged. Oh, are you kidding, dude? Even I think that should have been a strike. I'm all about free speech, but if you tell your audience to go and do murders, I think they should at the very least, be like, hey, we're taking that episode down. You shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. This is modern politics for you. Where does this standard bring us?
I err on the side of free speech for sure, and I don't want the feds being like, "Oh, we got a just cause now to go take this guy and unperson him." I don't like that stuff, man. I'd rather just work it out with Ethan. Like, he's stressed out. He's saying dumb stuff on the internet. And I'd rather work it out than cause more of it.
I
How
can't
are you
believe
going to
I'm
work
saying
it out
this.
with someone like that? Sorry.
I can't believe I'm saying. I kind of agree with you. If people want to be ridiculous, sensationalistic, bombastic, and idiots, I think let them and let people know exactly where they stand. But I think the problem, Ian, is that he gets to do this. He gets to get away with this. He gets to hang out with Susan Wojcicki. Yeah. Someone on the other political spectrum or someone questioning the establishment sneezes the wrong way, automatically downranked in the algorithm, demonetized, screwed over, shut down, deleted, and censored in many instances for just expressing political thought and ideas, not calling for violence, not calling for anyone to be thrown in the chambers. And there's an unfair balance here, which I think is the critique here that is fair to make here. But at the end of the day, I stand with you. Let people say whatever ridiculous, crazy stuff that they want. And let us know where people are really coming from. This is where he's coming from, and it's important to know. Agree or disagree? So the conversation should happen.
I do agree, and I think his opinion is not a call to violence. It's an expression of a desire for genocide, and a prominent individual to be killed. And so I think that's horrifying. I think what his point he's trying to make is, I'd be willing to bet, because I'm going to give him at least this much. The full context is something like the right is anti-Semitic, Kanye West, and that's why it comes up. And then he probably said, yeah, well, you know what? If it happens, it's because of them, so I hope. That's what I think the context probably is. I ultimately don't care. It's an insane thing to say. I hope Ethan Klein lives a long and healthy and happy life. I say that about people I don't like all the time. I say, look, you know, I don't like what they do, but I wish them the best. I hope they have a happy, healthy life, and we find a way to live together peacefully. Here's the issue. No one is going to come after him. He's not going to get censored. The rules don't apply to him. He's going to get away with it. His followers are going to laugh and enjoy it. You get people like Hassan. He's a socialist, and he buys a multi-million-dollar property. He advocates for policies to destroy the working class and the middle class, and then he uses that wealth to buy fanciful and grandiose things. They are both part of a faction that advocate for censorship of people they don't like, and they get away with it. Yeah. Now, in the end, even if they come out and they're like, oh, we're being edgy, we're making jokes, and we agree they should be allowed to, the problem is these people would laugh when you got banned, and we here today are defending their right to free speech.
And they do. As someone who has dealt with a lot of censorship and banned from companies, I'm well aware that, yes, it pleases the other side when they see it. And again, we get banned for sneezing. Or the reality is we get banned for things and they refuse to tell you what you did. Right, because they don't want to put that in writing. That happened to us recently.
I want to point out to
company.
People are mentioning this too. No, Ethan Klein is Jewish, right?
He is, yes. Ashkenazi.
Yeah. Him saying this, I understand the point he's trying to make, but it's just like
it's still wild,
such a disgusting and vile and insane thing to say. I'm just
crazy.
Look, I think he and all the other psychopaths should be allowed to express this so we know who the crazy people are. My point here is just the double standard.
We would have, when I was administrating at Mines, we would have these weird situations every once in a while come up where like someone, and it didn't happen much and it didn't happen to a point where I felt really bad about it, but like a really popular person on the website would do something that violated the terms of service or that I thought was like, whoa, this is coming close. And I'm like, what do? Do I ban our cash cow? Because the reason Mines is solvent right now is because we have a lot of views. The reason we have a lot of views is because of our popular video makers. Do I ban the biggest cash cow? And it's like, if I don't, then I'm letting fascism take over. I'm letting the money and the corporation take my morals and ethics away. And if I do, then the company goes under. What are my two choices here?
Yeah.
That's a weird position to be in as an administrator.
When I said people were censored for sneezing the wrong way, I wasn't kidding. As you were mentioning, Seth, people got censored, people got banned, people got their whole livelihoods deleted because of vague terms and services that were just there, and then people were like, "Wait, what exactly did you destroy my livelihood for?" No, we're not going to tell you. We just have these vague rules with these overgeneralizations, and we're going to punish you because you expressed political thoughts that we don't like. And it's not like they even give you any kind of ability to redeem yourself. It's not like they give you any kind of ability to fix your problem. No. But we have this on the other spectrum. And again, I used to watch Ethan Klein many years ago. He was interesting. He was creative. He actually did content that was engaging. And I don't know what happened to the guy, but it's sad to kind of see this because this could also be an attempt to try to get attention, to try to say something shocking so more people pay attention to you. We are talking about him right now, but I think he has strayed off a long way from where he was before, where he actually was enjoying this. He definitely doesn't look like he's enjoying this. I wish the guy luck. I wish he could, get in shape.
I'll tell you what it is. I think it's simple.
It's not good watching this.
Politics is pop culture. For somebody like me, my whole life has been politics. When I was a little kid, I work at my family's business. It was on North Halsted. It was Boys Town in Chicago. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing all about these issues with LGBT pride and stuff like that. I start listening to punk music. All the lyrics are about war and politics. And all of a sudden, I'm on the internet. I've been on the internet my whole life. I'm a little kid. And I'm seeing all of this news, just inundated with it. I work for nonprofits. I do fundraising. It's all activism. I eventually start covering protests on the ground. My whole life is politics. That leads us to where we are right now, talking about issues that I've talked about my entire life. Having me be able to remember weird things from back in the early 2000s when most people weren't paying attention to politics at all. Ethan Klein was a comedy, edgy YouTuber. Yeah. And then at some point, pop culture turned into politics, which was huge for us. All of a sudden, I just talk about politics all the time, getting a bunch more viewers, rivaling some of the biggest entertainment podcasts. Even Joe Rogan is now a largely political show, even though he's a comedian. Ethan Klein needs to adapt. He needs to start adopting politics. Otherwise, he's becoming stale and not current, right? The news, Trump, Trump, Trump. That's all it was. This is what happened to everyone. It's not just him. Now, he has on Jordan Peterson on his show. He has Jordan Peterson on his show.
Yeah.
What happens? For the most part, it's fine. Yeah. But over time, he starts feeling the heat because his fan base was mixed politically because it was edgy comedy. Right. And now as time's changing, a large portion of his base, probably skewing younger, they start getting angrier and more self-righteous. Mm-hmm. So he deletes the Jordan Peterson episodes. He apologizes, said it was wrong. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
And now he's like, if I'm going to be relevant, we have to talk politics. And thus, Ethan Klein, who knows almost nothing about politics, is having a conversation with Ben Shapiro, who has been a political commentator for decades and has a law degree. There's clearly a problem here with politics becoming pop culture. Someone who has no idea what's going on, saying they hope someone who is overtly political gets killed first in a new Holocaust is just absolutely insane. But he's entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to try and make his show political. And it's clear that he just went, modern leftist woke, whatever. It's the easy route. When you don't really know what's going on, it's simple. You believe Jussie Smollett, which most of these leftists do. You believe Ukraine Gate. You believe Russia Gate. You believe Trayvon, the hands up, don't shoot. Covington Catholic. I love saying the list over and over again. Bubba Wallace. The garage pole rope, they love believing this stuff because they are low information individuals, but they're also extremely dangerous, violent, and angry people. They want you to just fit in. The crowd is doing it. Why won't you? Everyone is saying this is the truth. Why won't you? Well, because there is a truth. I don't care what you think it is. Yes. 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. Shut up.
I kind of will double down that I think there's a saying, with great power comes great responsibility, and with 10 million followers, that's a form of great power. And so the things you would say with your friends in your bedroom or in your living room when you're playing, Super Nintendo or whatever the hell, insults, dirty jokes, you don't say that to 10 million people on TV because you have a greater responsibility not to be derogatory. I know you want to because it's natural. It's who you were in the past, Ethan, particularly. You probably like me would joke, insult your friends as comedy, but this is taken on another level, brother.
I don't like to talk about other commenters. I mention this from time to time. Like, I don't know, the Young Turks talks about me all the time, but they'll talk about me saying something like banal, like, I think some women might be unhappy because they want to have families. And then they make this big segment about Tim Pool's a sexist. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude, calm down. I was reading the Washington Post. This is a high profile podcast, which gets tens of millions of views, saying, I hope Ben, I don't even want to read it. I mean, it's just like, come on, dude. That's crazy.
There's also kind of the Britney Spears effect when it comes to online influencers and a lot of celebrities who take themselves too seriously. I'm not saying that that's what's happening with Ethan Klein, but there is, a lot of people who are in the digital space, who are influenced by the bots, by the comments, and by the people who are part of this. And you do see detrimental mental health effects to this. Is this maybe potentially one of the examples here? I don't know, but this is art unhinged, very emotionally kind of very emotional language that I don't think the average person is going to be okay with.
Yeah, Ladies and gentlemen, crack your beers now because I'm going to say it: Civil War. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about. This is. I mean, look, when security experts say we fear it's coming. When Princeton professors, former CIA, when they're all like, we think we're in the beginning stages of a civil war. And then a guy who used to make comedy videos where he would push out his fupa and pull his chin down and then run around his house as a gag is now saying that he hopes Ben Shapiro is gassed. I'm just like, yeah, listen. Do you see the radicalization over the past 10 years? Do you see why I might think we're heading to that place? Ethan Klein, for no reason, there is no reason why he, an edgy comedy YouTuber, should be saying anything about Ben Shapiro or Holocausts or politics. But this is what's happened with the radicalization in this country. That's why I'm like, that's why I think we're heading towards a civil war, or we're in a cold civil war, whatever you want to call it. When comedy edgy boys turn into advocates for, and like, let me just stress, they tried stopping him. And then he was like, no, and then he said it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, when you get to that point, maybe everything's about to break apart.
Well, it's I agree that it's like a form of radicalization. What's happening is the society is very stressful for a lot of people right now with inflation, with Ukraine, with all this crazy stuff going on. If you don't know the specifics, if you don't understand that Hunter Biden was involved with Burisma, for instance, that Biden's had, you might just look at it and be freaking out and then lashing out, which is what Ethan's doing. Like, he's obviously stressed about society like we are, but we study the intricate details about geopolitics. So I'm not getting radicalized. Like, if I didn't understand what was going on, I'd be freaking out, screaming at people, lashing out. And I think if he were to be more educated, he may be less radical.
His FUPA work, great work.
I want to jump to this story, and I want to highlight something specific. But the story from NPR: Ukrainians keep a wary eye on U.S. midterm elections, fearing a loss of support. And I say good, because I watched something on Reddit. I didn't want to watch it. I was scrolling Reddit all. And within 1 or 2 pages, I came across a video. And I didn't read the caption. I just saw the video, and it was a guy in military gear curled up in the fetal position in a foxhole. And then I'm like, what's this? And then all of a sudden, a grenade just falls from the overhead view. Oh, it was a drone carrying a grenade. The grenade lands in the hole, and then you see it go off, and the body gets shocked. And then this soldier start writhing and crawling and struggling to move like an ant under a magnifying glass. And then the video jumps again. This time there's 3 people in a foxhole. And then you see a grenade fall right down, land right next to someone's side, and then boom, flash, the bodies jostle. Then you see a man get up, writhing in agony and covered in blood, shaking profusely. And I got really angry, and I really wanted to just throw my phone at the wall. Why did Reddit put that in front of my face? Am I supposed to celebrate that the evil Russian invaders were being blown up in front of me? That when I go to a social media website with no not safe for work tags, that's what you want me to watch? The people who are advocating for the U.S. to be involved in this are psychopaths. I don't like Russia for invading, and I'm not going to cheer for someone being blown up. But this is what we're seeing. So if the midterms mean we cut ties and we end support for a war we shouldn't be involved in at this point, good. I'm sick of this disgusting garbage. These stupid people on the left blindly marching behind war.
Yeah, I just watched They Shall Not Grow Old last night. It's a Peter Jackson documentary, basically, where he took old World War I footage, black and white footage, and colorized it and added sound. And you see these young 18, 17, 16-year-olds that signed up for the war are so excited, the brotherhood being together, working for a common purpose. Yeah, and then they get to you watch them march to the trench, and then they're in the trenches where people, it's mud, they're falling, they're freezing, their feet are getting frozen off. Then they tell them to go up over the top and charge the machine gun nests. It's the first time they've ever seen machine guns. They don't even know what they are. So they start walking. They're not even running, they're walking, but there's no machine guns. They're like, what's going on? Maybe their Germans aren't ready. The Germans are waiting for them to get into range, and then they open up and they see their friends, the British, they're getting arms blown off, legs getting blown off, dudes getting their heads exploded, and they're laying. They get hit. They didn't know modern war. They didn't understand modern military technology. Now foxholes are no good anymore because drones can drop a grenade in them.
Well, this is always war. They never underestimate the new tactics and strategies. Sorry, you were going to say.
No, so one of my first job when I was 15 years old working in a hardware store, there was an old guy that worked there, and come to find out he was on Iwo Jima, and he never spoke about his war experiences or anything like that. People would ask him stuff, and he'd essentially blow it off and he'd be gone. And I was 15 years old, so it's been a long time now. And for some reason, just one day, he opened up and he described landing on the beach and running over the bodies parts, and it wasn't bodies, it was body parts of his friends. And it's like he just like clicked, and it was this moment. It was like for a minute or two he just described it, and he kept talking about the smell. Mm-hmm. And it was just to see someone say that and relive that in his mind. His name was Jack Lockett. It's a true American hero, but to hear that from him, like it's left an impact on me to this day. It's been a long time.
The smell of explosives.
Kept referencing
Well, the smell of
human
decay.
bodies.
Not at first,
Yeah.
you don't smell it, but then they start to decay, and then
Well,
you
yeah, they
smell
were
it.
there for quite a few days or weeks or
Yeah,
however
then they
long.
start
But
to
it's
turn
not
black.
just the smell; it's also an energy. There's also
Yeah.
a lot of other things happening when it comes to human beings and the soul leaving the physical body. Scientists haven't been able to explain it, but there's a phenomenon that does happen that is absolutely, indescribable in many instances. But we also have to understand war is hell. This is hell on earth. This is what a lot of people, are in. This is what the mainstream media is cheering for. This is what politicians are financing and funding with your money right now. And it's absolutely egregious and it's absolutely stupid. I watch, a lot of the footage coming from the Russians, coming from the Ukrainians to try to get a fair, balanced perspective about what's really going on in this conflict. And it's predominantly drone warfare. Drones blowing up drones flying with grenades, drones reconning, getting positions, and then having, of course, missiles strike those specific positions where soldiers are at. And very few instances have I seen soldiers to soldiers actually fight each other. It's all done through robots. It's all done through machines. And seeing this new modern warfare, which we were conditioned to through the video games, which also have you flying drones and flying all these carts and sending in airstrikes, is absolutely terrifying because you see the horror, you see the chaos, and it's not up close. It's not face to face like it was in World War I. It's far away, and people are just pressing buttons, killing and eliminating each other.
Imagine that you're 20 years old, and hey, Gen Z, I want you to imagine this, and your government calls you to war. They say, we have no choice. We are at war with a great enemy, and you must go fight. So you resist. And then one day, when you're sneaking out of your friend's basement because you don't want to fight, a couple of cops see you, chase you down, grab you, and you get shipped off to the front line. You're at the front line in Ukraine. Put the helmet on, put on the gear. You have no time for training. This is war. So you're pushed out into the middle of the field and you're hiding in a hole, crying, saying, why am I here? When a grenade lands on you and blows up. That's what's happening to these people. Many of these people fighting for Russia are conscripts. I'm not saying what Russia is doing is good. Obviously, I'm saying it's bad. But to watch videos of these people and then we're supposed to cheer on this psychotic propaganda. How about this? The U.S. should not be involved in this. NATO should not be involved in this. NATO should take care of itself. Ukraine is not a NATO member, not an EU member state. They're trying to be, but only after the war started. And we should say, you know what? We shouldn't be involved in a border dispute with a nuclear armed state. And then we wouldn't have to deal with this psychotic garbage.
Yeah, you know what's...
And again, what we're seeing, that drone footage is just one of dozens of videos that come out every single day. And it's not just the Russians being hit. It's also the Ukrainians being hit. It's also Russians sending in missiles into civilian areas, hitting buildings where people are just trying to live their lives. War hits both ways.
And this is how all war plays out. Every time there's a war, both sides figure something out. Hey, they did this thing. Technology advances, technology advances, tactics advance, and then when the new war breaks out, like Ian was mentioning, they're in the trenches saying charge, and all of a sudden there's machine guns mowing them down.
Because tactics change slower than the technology.
But technology changes. So I actually have a Civil War bullet. It's a Gardner bullet. I think it's 58 caliber. And it's a fascinating, I got it at the Stonewall Museum. And it's got some interesting facts on it. It said that for the most part, muskets were smoothbore. Very inaccurate. Effective only up to about 100 yards. I believe it was 100 yards. Smoothbore, so you'd point it and fire, and it'd go wildly in the wrong direction. At some point, before the Civil War, we get rifled muskets. So now, for those who don't know, rifling, and the reason why they're called rifles is because the inside of the barrel has a small spiral groove. So when the bullet is fired, it spins, dramatically increasing accuracy, tripling or quadrupling the range of your standard musket. When the Civil War broke out, neither side truly understood what that meant and used conventional war tactics like bayonet charges. And then, with a maximized accuracy, we saw one of the bloodiest wars we've ever seen. This is what happens when new war breaks out with technological advancement. Now that we have a massive global population and technology is advancing quite dramatically, it's not going to be nuclear war you should be fearing. It should be the top secret classified weaponry they haven't told you about, which is going to be even more nightmarish.
It'll be hacked drones flown over civilian targets like your family. If that's what you're... what modern warfare Call of Duty doesn't show you is the drone getting hacked and getting flown over Los Angeles.
Yeah, you could hack drones in Modern Warfare.
but
I
you're
played the
into
game.
LA.
There's also hives, like small little drones that are also developed already that could launch attacks on individuals and have little explosives on them and have bullets on them. The technology that they have right now is absolutely insane, and we don't know much
Oh,
about
bro,
it.
listen. A small drone, probably about this big, can carry a shotgun shell, a 12 gauge or whatever, and it can be with a what is it called, Luca? Flashette? What do you call it?
Flechette?
Slug?
Flechette? Is that what it's called?
That's how I pronounce
slug?
it.
Not a slug. Spread razor blades.
Oh.
Sharp piece of metal.
I think those are flechettes.
Flechette. And so that little tiny drone can fly up to you and you go, "What's that?" And then it bang and sprays metal shards all over the place, blinding and scarring people.
Yeah, maiming.
It's just insane, the level of technology. It's not going to be fun.
No.
But I'll tell you, man, one thing they don't show you in Call of Duty is the 20-year-old crying because he was conscripted by his government to fight in a war and he doesn't want to be there. And then
Well, then his officer is like, if you turn around, I'm going to shoot you. Go over the edge
march. Yep.
Literally.
now. And they also don't show you your friends getting wounded and screaming in pain for 20 minutes or for 4 hours waiting because you can't get to them.
There's going to be a handful of Gen Zers because they lean very heavily Democrat. There's going to be two. Let me tell you a story of two Gen Z. Let's say they're 22 years old. One's a staunch Democrat who loves watching H3 and agrees with Ethan Klein about Ben Shapiro and all that other nonsense. Watches Hassan Piker, and so he's like, you know what? We got to stop Russia. We got to stop them. So they say, I'm going to vote Democrat. Not like the Republicans are that much better, but at the very least with Trump, he opposes this stuff. Well, that person has a friend. The friend doesn't know, doesn't care, and doesn't pay attention. But lo and behold, the war escalates, NATO gets involved, and the U.S. says we have not been able to replenish our forces to a degree where we could actually fight and win. So we're going to reenact the draft. These 22-year-olds, let's say it's in a few years, so they're 18 today, they both find themselves on the front lines. And one is saying, why is the one friend B, who never paid attention to the news, doesn't care, is saying, I wish I paid attention and could have done something about this. And the other friend says, well, actually, I kind of voted for it. And then the bomb goes off and they both explode.
You know, I was thinking, where are our strong men sociologically in the world right now? What happened? Why are people so latching on to Donald Trump and Jordan Peterson? Why do they need a father figure? You know why?
Put attack in that.
Well, it's because they were sent to Afghanistan in 2005. They had their lives destroyed.
It's a good point, but put a pin in that
Yes,
because I
will.
want to
talk
launch.
about this
I want to
later.
launch the news story, which leads into what you're saying. From Timcast.com, new report finds U.S. military is weak, unable to win a single major regional conflict. Analysis identified profound lack of seriousness as a contributing factor to the U.S. military's decline. Ian, you were just talking about a lack of strong men.
Yeah, I was wondering where they are, why society is obsessed with people like Donald Trump and Jordan Peterson, these men that are giving young children guidance, like the heroes of our lives. And it's because they were sent to Afghanistan and Iraq on a false premise that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, which he didn't have. They were lied, went to fight an unjust war, had their psychology destroyed, knowing that they were fighting some false narrative, and then their bodies blown apart, their friends destroyed, and now they're shaken. And our leaders are absent. They are the one. They're supposed to be leading the nation right now, and instead we got Fauci. I wrote. Joe, 86-year-old president. How old is this guy now? 84 years old, and he's supposed to be our military commander.
I think when you talk about where did the strong men go, and I understand your point there too, but something else that I like to harp on a little bit is testosterone. If you look at what's happened to male testosterone over the years, it's nearly half of what it was 50 years ago. So men today are not the same men of 50 years ago. And so I think that might explain a little bit about where we're at. And I think that until people start realizing and addressing that, it's not going to change.
Most 20-year-olds have the same testosterone levels as 50 and 60-year-olds.
Did
right now.
PFAs, huh? PFAs, phthalates,
all of these
PCBs.
things. Yeah.
I wrote
Look at
about
this glass bottle water right
I wrote
here.
about this
Marco
on Twitter.
Rubio, small water.
Our soldiers are some of the most badass humans on earth. Those dudes. Every time I meet a returning, I don't know if did you serve in the military?
No.
But every time I have an opportunity to talk to someone that's actually seen combat or experienced that it's so valuable to the human consciousness to understand what that is, and those people to put their lives on the line like that. But to have gone through a false war, I mean, I don't know, would you call that a false flag if the government says he has weapons of mass destruction? You go in, he doesn't. Yeah, they said they had bad info. George Bush Jr. is like, we had bad intelligence. Well, you know what? It's on you, George.
They didn't even go through a false flag. They just claimed it was.
And then it wasn't. It was like the next level of false flag.
Well, there was
no need.
there was people within the government that came out and said, "Hey, there's no WMDs here." They were silenced. They were shunned. They were threatened. There was media organizations. There was activists coming forward. Hey, this is not true. This is not happening. Shunned. Silenced.
They should have just
called
come out
crazy.
and been like, ladies and gentlemen, Saddam Hussein is trying to trade oil in euro. And then people would be like, huh?
We need you to mobilize like stormtroopers and invade and conquer their land. Imagine how no one would have done it. People would have revolted. They would have said, no, we're not invaders, dude.
You say that, but I don't know that they would have revolted. I think what you're saying is maybe the right thing, but I don't know that the people would have revolted. They would have worn the mask and done as they're told, like most Republicans did and quote unquote conservatives did, and shut down their country and done whatever the hell the government told them. People are sheep.
But that's with an excuse. Like, if we told people the truth about Iraq, then they would not. There would
You
not.
could
have
have kind of had the truth on the pandemic early on. I guess my point is a lot of the people that even speak out and claim they're conservative, this, that, and the other, the vast majority of people are followers.
This is because the pandemic rolls around and our male adult leaders are broken from their service in the military. Like those are the guys that are supposed to be in Congress right now running the show. These are the leaders. They're the ones that are the brave ones.
I struggle with that. If you think that just because someone's in the military makes them a great leader, then that means we've got barracks full of future presidents.
No, I don't think
it does. I'm just saying. So if you look at a lot, this
Yeah, John
I'm gonna
McCain.
get canceled on this. I was about to say you got John McCain, you got Dan Crenshaw. Like if you do look, they are, unless you're maybe the true generals and stuff like this, they're kind of used to following orders from the government, and that doesn't always equal the best congressman. I know I'm getting canceled. I'm sorry.
They
everyone.
make
It was
great great politicians. You know,
That's a great point.
The multinational corporations and the big bankers are their generals, and they just follow the orders.
I want to clarify. I don't think that being in the military makes you a great leader, but I think that great leaders are drawn to military command. And when you find out that you've been commanding a military on a false premise and you've been kicking in doors in Fallujah and killing families.
Okay, do you assume the same with the police, though?
No, I don't know much. They're different systems to me. I think putting your life, going and willing to fight, like, and kill people.
But why are you assuming that's what the military is? See, Ian, you don't understand what the military is.
a killing
Some
machine.
people are like, I want money. All right, I want to be
It's
subsidized.
not,
I want to go to college.
hold on.
I mean,
guys.
enlisted dudes.
There's no one in this room who's a veteran. Okay, right? Not a single person.
I stayed a Holiday Inn last night, though.
And the most I can say is that I've spent a few months, a couple different times on military bases. But let me tell you, a lot of it is just administrative work. So assuming that someone joining the military, army, navy, whatever it is fighting is wrong.
Yeah, but
Like,
or they're
some
in
people
command
are-
or in support of the fighting. It's one or the other.
Yeah, but bro, someone might be like a refrigerator repairman in Nebraska.
That's
still work for the
that's
government,
repairing
sure,
refrigerators for the troops in Afghanistan that are killing.
No, dude, come on.
Or they're keeping the administration
the
going.
point I'm trying to make is,
Or the war machine.
When you say that, if you want to make a point about people who have seen combat, is different from the military. in
No,
general.
I'm talking about command structure, basically.
Somebody who repaired refrigerators in Nebraska is no different than a private refrigerator repairman. I mean, I guess it went to basic
but great
training.
leaders aren't drawn. I'm not saying maybe you're a refrigerator repairman and you are a great leader, but usually great leaders are drawn to military command. Like they want to protect and serve the world.
I think maybe you're picturing people of the past, that maybe the World War II era military veterans, which a lot of them did see combat if you were in World War II, and equating that to what today is. But I just don't see it today.
Bro, when a 22-year-old he gets a commission and then outranks like a 45-year-old NCO, like those are funny scenarios that I've seen as just someone, as a family member at the what is it called, the commissary? Is that what they call them? I don't know, because I just have family members, and I'm like buying food, and I hear the grumbling from the guy who's like a non-commissioned officer, being like, "Why is a 22-year-old giving me the business?"
Oh, then he's got a bad commander. A good 22-year-old,
like, bro, come on.
a good 22-year-old commander will defer to his NCO.
No.
Yes,
No.
a good one will, because he doesn't always do. He's green.
No, they outrank him.
Yeah, but you still, as your commander, you defer to the guy with the experience in real life situations.
Ian, right now the military is training guys how to wear heels. Right. That's literally
society
happening.
happens.
That's happening right now.
Shattered by the war in Iraq.
Okay, I think maybe you can put part of the blame on the war in Iraq, but I'm just there's I think a lot of other factors that come into play, and I do think kind of my point about the police versus the military. You don't have the same belief in police that are willing to put their lives on the line, etc. I think you would make a hard time jumping to just because it's military police is different.
Military command. I'm talking about commanders. The commanding force of our military is like some of the greatest humans on earth. That's why they're in charge of our military. And we need those people in civilian life doing the same thing for our consciousness.
Aren't these the same people that you were earlier talking about committing the atrocities of sending drones over and killing people in frivolous wars?
Yeah, they were ordered by George Bush to do
well,
that.
Well, then you're not a damn leader. You're not an effing leader. If you do,
but I don't know
what
if
the
they're
hell
the same
you were
people.
told because someone had a piece of brass on their shoulder. Again, I know I'm getting canceled. I'm sorry. But nonetheless, like these people are still following orders. And that, to me, there's been a lot of horrific evil that's taken place in the world because of following orders.
And Donald Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, all of these presidents have the generals walk in and say, here's what we're going to do and why we have to do it. And they say, okay.
Yep.
Donald Trump was very susceptible to just believing the generals were smart. He put a lot of faith in the military and he really believed what they had to say. And boy, did they screw him over.
Well, no, and also, Ivanka came in and Jared came in and they're like, we want you to bomb Syria. Trump's like, okay, go bomb Syria. And that's what Trump did. That's according to Trump's own son, by the way, not just hearsay.
And look at what they did when Trump was like, you know what? I'm getting our troops out of Syria because I made a promise to the American people. And they went, oh, you got it, boss. Don't do it. And then they lied to us and claimed they did when they didn't.
I was watching video. Well, I mentioned that they shall not grow old. And when you see returning troops get treated like garbage, like it just shatters their confidence and makes them unable to function in society. Like it's for our troops to come back from Iraq and Afghanistan and be treated like they did something wrong is the worst morale destruction of our society.
Yeah, look at
I
Vietnam.
agree. Yes, I agree. But exactly what he's saying. You look back to Vietnam, the same thing. And I don't know that I don't think you could say that men were destroyed from being men after Vietnam.
Yeah, they were. That generation was annihilated. They had no confidence. They were completely used and abused.
I understand that they were mistreated some when they got back, but I guess my point is you're saying that where did the men go? And I guess, so did we lose men being men after Vietnam, or did it happen?
It happened after Iraq. Our current society, this flawed narrative that we're struggling with right now as a result of a lack of male leadership. This idea that there's toxic masculinity.
I agree with that.
You guys want to hear a funny factoid? Do you know why Smith is the most common last name? Smith, Schmidt, and other forms of it? Because whenever a war would break out, there was one group of people that would never be sent to war and one group of people that would never be executed when a nation was conquered.
The people that can make things.
The blacksmiths.
Yes.
So when a war broke out, the blacksmiths, the Smiths, would stay behind and make weapons. Yeah. If an enemy force took over that country or land, they would kill everyone but the Smiths.
Because they could use
So
them
the
again.
Smiths kept having kids.
Yep, exactly.
That's right, because they were valuable. You needed someone to make the weapons. So my point there is the people who didn't see the war typically were the ones that propagated. And, I think to your point, Ian, it's actually more than you realize. Like Vietnam, World War II, we had people come back from World War II, the greatest generation. Vietnam was destructive. I mean, people lost their minds. And then you get Iraq and Afghanistan, and also it's insanity at that point. I mean, World War II, I think for a lot of people, regardless of your politics, there was something really bad going on in this world. And my understanding is the U.S. didn't know the Holocaust was happening until after they got there.
It was later.
It's true.
But
That's contended. There's Polish contested.
They knew about it.
Contended. Let's figure this out.
Contended makes sense.
I think contested
Both
makes sense.
contending the contestant.
Lukeisms.
Listen, I'll make all the words up I want. And
It's his truth.
So you think they knew?
Exactly, my truth. They absolutely did know, and they were given intelligence, especially from Polish government officials, and there was a lot of photos, there was a lot of videos, and they had the opportunity to bomb the railroads, according to the history that I particularly saw, and decided not to. And there was, a lot of corruption within our government, and a lot of Nazis within our government, like Prescott Bush, that of course openly supported Hitler, along with, the Rockefellers and other very powerful families.
They definitely knew about it.
World War II was sort of a defensive war because Hitler had taken France at that point. And the argument, they will try to make it look defensive. That's the whole thing. We were attacked by Osama bin Laden. We must create a war. No, that wasn't a defensive war. That was a war of aggression. And they used some cheap pretext for it. Watch out for the
Contended,
next one.
Definition of Cambridge English Dictionary, Tim. Contended is a real word.
So when you
I
put,
know it's a real word, but it doesn't make sense in the context
Yes, it
in which
does.
you applied it.
when you
Yes, I
put
did.
rockets on the border,
Read the definition.
when you put rockets on the border of Russia and then Russia invades to take care of those rockets, you can't call it a defensive war because Russia is the one that crossed the line. You put the rockets right there on the other side. It's not a war of defense right now. It's like, it's just as aggro as Vietnam. It's nuts.
Yeah. Would America allow those weapons on the Mexican border?
Hell no. Hell no. And like Russia needs Black Sea access through Novosibirsk. If Canada had our entire West Coast, had just a strip of land all down the West Coast, California, we didn't have any Pacific Coast access, we would have invaded
No
to
way,
take
no, we
that
wouldn't
Pacific
have. Yeah.
access.
I agree.
Not gonna happen.
All right, we're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel and share the show with your friends. Become a member at timcast.com. We're going to have a members-only show coming up for you about 11 p.m. They're always good, fun, spicy, and uncensored. We had a lot of news to talk about in the members-only show, so you don't want to miss it. But let's read what you got to say. Potatoes for Seamus, says Tim and Cast. Great job on the latest Cast Castle. I do think it was one of the best. Some people have commented they're not fans, but hey, hold on. Look, like I mentioned, we are not a major Hollywood production house. The people acting on Cast Castle are quite literally just the employees who work here. And we direct them and say, okay, say this. And they can't always do it. No beef. You know, we're excited that we get to have fun and screw around and make these episodes. So we made it as offensive as we could. No, we didn't. We could have been way more offensive, but it was. And I think Rusty Cage was absolutely brilliant. If you guys are not familiar with him, he's a big YouTuber and he does really funny videos. And he came in and he was our sexual harassment trainer for the company. But I'll just give you the gist of the episode. Maybe you want to watch it. The mistake occurs when someone says we need to have sexual harassment training, and instead of teaching people how not to do it, Rusty comes in and teaches them how to do it.
Yeah.
That's the joke. And then a bunch of other stuff happens. That's actually only the B plot anyway, but it was very funny.
He's great. Rusty's awesome.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, check them out.
All right. Pirate Taurus second half says, Netflix users, I canceled my account months ago. They continue to charge me 2 times a month. Argued, refunded only $15. Told to complain to my bank. So they're reporting now that Netflix has jumped 2.4 million users, and they're like, hey, they're rebounding. And I'm like, no, they aren't. They're cracking down on password sharing. But I mean, good for them. They're making more money. But yeah, password sharing. Cody Justin Fannin says, holy cow, a notification with this topic? That's right. There you go.
Hey, there we go.
Finally, notifications are going out, huh? For
Yeah.
at least some people. All right. Christina H says, did anyone else have a hard time canceling their PayPal account? I had to argue with them a bit before they finally did.
PayPal canceled me, so I didn't have to worry about
What
it.
happened? You were mentioning a canceling. What happened exactly?
We've been canceled by everybody, it seems like. We're not allowed to order from Vistaprint. They've told us we are out of bounds, I guess. They won't tell us why. But the biggest thing that happened to us recently was, I'm going to name them, Klaviyo, who is our email provider. They're a $1 billion company. I'd been with them for approximately 2.5 years. Our last month with them, I spent, I think, about $3,000 with them. I get an email saying, your content, meaning our email content, violates our, it's hateful content that encourages violence or some nonsense like this. And of course, I respond and say, oh, this is news to me. Someone at the company must have done it other than myself. Please shoot me an example of where this hateful content that promotes violence is, and I will get this handled immediately. And the response is, we can no longer discuss this matter. You've got 30 days to get your stuff and go. Well, the thing is, when you have an email, like this costs our small company a lot of money. And when our main way of communicating with customers is sending an email when we have new products, whatever it may be, and you lose, yes, I still can take my email list, but I've lost so much data. I know who wants to buy hoodies and who wants to buy t-shirts or who prefers whatever. All that gets lost. And then I have to re-upload to a new email provider, and I'm no longer a trusted sender. And we had great, incredible open rates for email because people wanted to be on our list. So you're starting from scratch and getting sent to spam. And it could put a lot of people out of business.
That's why you got to get off PayPal. I'll tell you right now, for those that are listening, a lot of people stayed with, so we used to use PayPal for our memberships, because when we started up the website, it was the easiest and fastest, and it was cheap. We had a big burst of new users, so we immediately implemented Stripe. Stripe has made much better guarantees. When we had a problem early on, I sent a message to the CEO himself, and he quickly addressed it and apologized, and that's fantastic. PayPal does not do that. So I like Stripe. Stripe's still far from perfect, though. Locals uses them. It's just, Locals, of course, was bought by Rumble. And then Rumble actually did one better. Dan Bongino, I think to some degree Rumble invested, I'm not sure, launched Parallel Economy. So what we did was, as soon as we could, it took some time, we got set up with Parallel Economy, that's Dan Bongino's financial transactions company, got rid of PayPal from the website, and now all signups default through Parallel Economy. That's Rumble, Dan Bongino, because we are building the Parallel Economy. And it's risky. There's risks with new companies. I mean, who knows? Maybe the company doesn't make it, whatever, but I don't know. It's more important. Many users said, I don't care, I'll keep using PayPal. You don't have to stop using it. You can't sign up with it anymore. A bunch of people, because of what happened recently, started switching off finally. So if you want to get off the PayPal, then the easiest thing to do is just re-sign up with Parallel Economy and cancel your account with PayPal, or email members@timcast.com and we will try and help you set it up. Some people were really awesome. It's not so easy just to transfer the account over, because if you already paid like on the 1st and it's the 19th, we can't issue pro rates. It's not that easy to do. But a lot of people are just like, consider it an extra contribution and we're going to help you out. So I really do appreciate it. But for many people, we tried to find a way to do refunds. I don't know if we can actually do it, because when you sign up, if we refund you, I think it might cancel the account or something. So I don't know. Look, all I know is we are trying to get away from PayPal and we're doing the best we can. And I appreciate everybody who did switch over and uses Parallel Economy. And I appreciate everybody who reached out to Parallel Economy to support them in any way. I look forward to Parallel Economy launching little terminals, and then we can open a coffee shop and we can use them for everything. It'll be fantastic.
For the record, what's the name of your company that was censored via email?
freedomspeaksup.com.
All right. We got Chaz Chartrand Morning says, Ethan Klein has said some really effed up stuff about Ben recently. Quartering did a video about it today. It's just so weird, you know?
It is. Yeah.
It's weird when people who have no business in politics all of a sudden become violent. That's a crazy thing. All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, today's been an angry day. After Ammon's story, after our electeds not caring if their actions sow death, after divisive media and lie after lie after lie, I was a fool for so long. Now I'm pissed.
Yeah, I've been feeling that energy.
Ammon Bundy's, the member episode we did last night with Ammon was crazy, because there was so much that I didn't know about his story. A lot of people think that, like, you know, him and his family like had an armed standoff with police. Nope. Unarmed protesters. It was a group of them with no weapons, peacefully standing and protesting. And that was it.
But they were in the vicinity of people that were armed that hypothetically had pointed their weapons, although I don't know if there was proof of that. But anyway, the entire case was dismissed. The charges were dropped.
Right. And then the first charges in Oregon they got acquitted on. And the second charges in Nevada, they proved prosecutorial misconduct. The government was withholding evidence. It's an insane.
He was in solitary. He was in prison for 8 months.
They were strip searching him. And then when he refused, they lied to the judge and claimed that he refused transport to his own trial. So the judge calls him, and then he's like, Your Honor, I'd like to make a verbal motion to mandate the prison transport me to my trial. And she's like, wait, what? They said you were rejecting that. And he's like, no, they're the ones doing it. The whole thing was corrupt. They said they were beating him.
Why are those people not in jail? The ones that lied to the court.
Nazis, bro.
Those people need to be in jail.
Because it's illegal.
Yeah, absolutely. You're committing a crime against another human being at that point that's being kept in a prison. It's incredible. But those people continue to get away with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like withholding evidence, I think. Yeah. I don't know the legalities of it.
But no one's going to prosecute them because they're on the right side.
Sorry Forlot says, I can't wait for the FBI to raid Cast Castle. You know, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know that journalist who went missing? Should I like commission a very expensive like 6-figure investigative piece? And I'm like, the reality is it may turn out the dude left his wife or something and quit, retired, and went to the Bahamas. You don't know. So I'm like, no, we shouldn't do any stupid stunt. But I imagine it's the journalistic work that would result in something like that. Because, you know, James O'Keefe, we'll see what happens. Sideways says, wanted to know the metrics on the revamped Cast Castle. I know there were some that complained about the changes, but hard numbers are good to have. I don't have any. I don't know. I don't. The metrics with YouTube are easy. You can see them. But since we've shifted to the internal metrics, I actually don't know the metrics on our internal stuff. And I don't really care. I can tell you the metrics that matter are people are signing up and watching it. And so we're making enough money to keep doing it, and that's what matters. When Cast Castle was a daily vlog on YouTube, it was losing lots and lots and lots of money, and we kept putting more and more money into it, and it wasn't working. And so I said, okay, we can cancel it outright and just stop making this stuff, And there were some people who were like, fine. And then I was like, or we could make once a week longer episodes, do more skits that we want to do, and then make it a members thing and see if we can get enough members to sign up that will cover the cost. Congratulations. We have enough people who have signed up that's covered the costs. That's all that really matters. If we can afford it, we'll keep doing it. I don't want to just cancel it for people who like it. For people who don't like it, I don't know. Sorry. Some things cost money. I mean, maybe, there's let me tell you a story. Wendy's in the 2000s came out with something called the smoky cheeseburger. And they had this sauce, the smoky sauce, they called it. And boy, it was my favorite burger. And nobody else liked it, so they got rid of it. If you can't afford to make it, you're not going to make it. They're not going to just keep it there for me. So that's just the reality of business.
Yeah, I thought Arrested Development was a really good show too, and then they canceled it. But then they brought it back because the internet loved it.
All right, let's see. CJ McLean says, Tim, do you think a pro-choice of the 20 weeks Republican as president would help calm the division in this country? No. Maybe it might benefit to a certain degree. Okay. But I think the problem is, as you saw with the Ethan Klein thing and Ben and being gassed and all that stuff, these people, it's not about policy. It's about tribal hatred. And they're going to keep saying this stuff until sooner or later people go out and riot and target people. You know, Scott Adams was mocked when he said Republicans will be hunted. Then we saw a bunch of Republicans get hunted. Not like every single one ever, but, people were killed. There you go, man. Terrestrial G says, Ian may be an oddball, but he's our oddball. Check my music. I make oddball music. Well, all right. Moving on. Tim Jake says, the First Amendment does not protect journalists who discloses classified information. Read 18 U.S. Code 798. I think it depends, but, there's a nuance in all things. DJ Madero says, who would have thought that Mel Gibson's conspiracy theory is the dystopian future we live in? Which conspiracy theory is that?
It's a movie.
Oh, the
Mel
movie.
Gibson's conspiracy theory.
Oh, that's what they're referring to. I thought he had like a specific conspiracy onto himself. Oh, the movie's awesome.
Yeah.
The movie, like, there's a scene where he puts a bottle on his doorknob. And so that way, if someone tries opening it, like jiggling it, it falls over and it's crazy. Yeah, that movie's funny. Good stuff. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Abrams thinks heartbeats are manufactured. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, another Georgia thing.
Yep.
No, what's that?
She said that the heartbeat you hear on ultrasounds is a fake sound made by the machine so that men can control women.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's the people coming from your state. That's a representation of where you're from.
It's unfortunate.
Coming from my country.
Ivan Ooze says, Only Ever Wanted has radicalized Ian into Tim's right-wing world. That's right.
It's a great song.
Have you laid down vocals in the new one?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
A while ago. They were arguably demo. We might have to go back and touch them up, but they sounded so good.
We'll see. The one note we got back for the new song was more harmonies. And then Ian keeps harping on harmonies. So
yes,
I think they took
vocal
the
harmonies.
advice. All right. Straight White Male says, Matt Walsh is holding his rally to end child mutilation in Tennessee on Friday, hoping you have some journos on the ground. Really? Well, if anyone's listening from our newsroom, we should get on that. Because we can. That would be fantastic. That'd be cool. Mountain Ridge Collectibles says, we sell sports cards, TCG, and anime. So I'd like to hook you and Ian up with some MTG products. I'd also like to do some kind of sponsorship or even help with your brick and mortar. Yeah, we're setting up a physical location, and we're going to be launching the new show, Mall Store.
Love it.
I had a conversation with some individuals who are skilled in this space, and it's looking really good that within the next year. The show is basically, we got a storefront, and we are going to create a pop-up store once a week that does something absurd. I'm going to give you an example of one of the jokes that I came up with off the top of my head, and we probably will do, so I'm spoiling it a little bit, but I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a store called Pokemon IRL, and we're going to have people outside yelling for families to bring their kids to come in and watch Pokemon in real life, and the only thing inside the room is going to be 2 cages on the left and the right with a rooster in each one. And then when the parents come in to ask what it is and get, noticeably offended by the idea, we say, what do you think Pokemon is? It's kids training animals to fight each other. So that's an idea of like the jokes we do. The roosters will be in cages. And side note, for those that don't know this, the roosters will not actually fight. Roosters only fight if there's girls around. When you hear about cockfights, those are specially bred roosters with like, they cut the combs off and everything, and they make them really aggressive.
Ragers in their
He's
feet.
talking about Georgia again.
Yeah, regular. we over at Cocktown, we've got like 18 roosters, and they'll just hang out and do rooster stuff.
Yeah.
As long as there's no girls, everybody gets along. So, but that's one of the jokes we're going to do. And then once a week on the weekends, we're going to, no, I think Monday and Tuesday is when we set up the new store and change it to something ridiculous. And then throughout the week, with the weekend, people can come in. Yeah. But let's grab some more super chats. All right, let's see. Ready to Rumble says Ukraine has the largest deposit of lithium on the planet, 500,000 tons. It all makes sense now.
Wow.
Maybe, I was reading that the Donbass region has a lot of lithium. With the loss of Afghanistan, we're going to need to get our lithium from somewhere.
Right.
Maybe that's it, huh?
I think there was some super chats earlier that were talking about Ian's opinion about NCOs and fresh commanders taking hints from their NCOs. Not necessarily, it was up there earlier, some of the super chats. But
Well, let's keep reading.
That's a lot of stuff I saw from Vietnam. A lot of great commanders that would come in off the boat would be like, "You're the guy. You've been doing this for 5 years, so
Right.
I'm following you for now."
right.
Daniel Bennett says, Trucker here. LSB Industries out of Arkansas and Oklahoma produces fertilizer, and I've been watching their stock price go up and up and up. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Out of all the stocks that I have, the graphene one has actually got me a return. Everything's collapsing, but that graphene one.
When I was doing calculations in 2018, I got that peak graphene will arrive in about 2029 is when it's going to be globally adopted. Things change, obviously. That was a projection from like 4 years ago, but it's definitely, I think, a smart thing to invest in.
Crooked Smile says, Mr. Poole, what do you think of using credit to acquire gold and then later on using said gold for gold-backed loans? Your thoughts? Also waiting on financial advice videos, please. Never going to give financial advice, but wait a minute. Are you saying that use a credit card to buy gold, then get a loan with the gold, and then what do? Do you pay off the credit card and then have cash or something?
I don't know. That's margin stuff. Be careful, because if the gold goes down in value, then you're going to owe all that extra money. You have to pay back your loan.
He's pretty much telling you to make a gold Federal Reserve.
Yeah. So wait, what is this? You get a credit card, you buy gold with it. Now you owe on the credit card. Then you use that gold to get a loan. All you're doing is holding gold and having your credit back, I guess.
But then if the gold goes down in value, how do you pay the loan back?
I don't know, but what
And
if a
then how do you pay
civil
off your
war or
credit
World
card?
War III breaks out and everyone forgets? That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm buying a house and I'm like, I'm getting a mortgage. If the collapse happens, I'm not going to owe anything. Right?
I don't know how that works.
Well, there's no one to collect. Civil
you
war
just make it
happens.
up
It's just like, all right.
As you go, yeah.
Who's coming after you?
Who's
Yeah.
got the Gatling guns?
I've read crazy stories about people who got mortgages, and then after like a decade or so with like modernization and documents being moved, they sent a request to the banks to produce the documents proving they had a mortgage, and the banks couldn't, and then like the mortgages disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, there was something I was reading about. It may have been like a scam or something, but this guy was pointing out that when it comes to debt collection, often there's so much transfer of paperwork, they don't actually even have the original documents anyway. And the first thing you always do whenever someone tries to collect a debt is request original documentation. And many of these collection agencies can't produce it. And if they can't, you say, bye, have a nice day. I don't know who you are. Like, for all you know, they're lying to you. But then I was reading stories about like when I was reading about the like Dillinger, and they said he would burn mortgage paperwork at banks so that they couldn't ever try to recover the property or prove that there was a loan on it or anything
He was
like
a
that.
bank robber, right? And he would
Yeah.
go in and just destroy debt paperwork.
Yep.
That's crazy. Like a Robin.
Because
kind of
no,
character.
but it wasn't. Well, some argue it's because he was sticking it to the man. Others argue is that he was trying to generate favors with the
his buddies.
favor with the public. The public would be like, no, we like it when he does that stuff. Because then all of a sudden they're like, we don't know how much you owe, so well, too bad, paperwork's gone. All right, let's see. AO Shooter says, face it, Tim. The line has moved and you are conservative now because you seek truth. You have become one of us. One of us. One of us. You forgot to add gooble gobble. Gooble gobble. One of us. I guess like in the modern era, conservative means that you want the truth and you care about facts. And the liberal and left means you want sweet, sweet lies.
Like rewriting history. That would be the liberal thing, would be to like, we're going to change what we don't like. Whereas the conservative thing's like, just keep it the same.
Paul Renfer says, so when's the Cast Castle episode of Ian bring down on one knee with a ring asking Luke to start a business for Luke to flex muscles, rejecting Ian because he is married to his workout regimen?
It's a
I like that.
well-written idea.
Well, there you go. Moving on. Jeffrey Grajic says, Ian, come to Texas and get married. No alimony, just child support if children are involved, plus no state income tax. But it's also very hot. And so is Florida.
I like the heat.
I like West Virginia. I got to look into those laws, though. West Virginia's fantastic.
Maryland probably is awful.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting.
Yep.
It's getting cold right now. Stepped outside last night. It was frigid.
It's not nice in the RV.
Really? Are you sleeping? You sleep in the RV for now?
CB says, what they are trying to do is paint the whole show as conservative, so the damage is all of Timcast, not just Ian. That's right.
The Damage. That's my new nickname.
The damage.
Ian the Damage.
Yeah, just call me The Damage.
Silo Sibin says, Tim, it would be so fitting for you to have on the YouTuber Better Bachelor as a guest. He shouts you out on his channel around 400,000 subs, and I found you there. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you, Better Bachelor. We'll take a look at that. Take a look into that indeed. 5 against 8 says, easy calculation. Jezebel owes Ian $965 million. Well, there you go.
That's so funny.
Anthony Jones says, Tim, please show your true Trek fandom. Put together a team and go investigate the daily sightings of UAPs off our coastlines. Give the people what we truly want. That's a job for Shane Cashman.
We just talked about the UAPs. Who was it on Rogan yesterday? He had a Navy pilot retired.
We have that story pulled up. We didn't get to it,
Yeah,
though.
maybe we
Weird
can talk
black
about it on the
objects.
after show. I think we have a couple of ideas to talk about. But I think a lot of what's happening is they're focusing lasers into the sky and distorting radar and causing like a morphing of the environment that looks like a craft. Then they're moving it around all weird. They move it around like what a craft might do to get the pilots to think maybe it's an actual craft, setting people up for some sort of false flag or whatever. But they're testing like laser technology called talking plasma.
Carpe Donctum. Hey, what up? He says, it's different when we do it, Democrats. That's right. And also, we need Elon Musk to get Twitter already so that Carpe Donctum can come back. Mimic says, it was nice seeing Seamus on the show again. Ah, old memories. Seamus, it was 4 months ago. He left.
Emotional times.
Yep. One day, he told us he was going out for scratchers, and then he never came back.
He must have won.
He must have won.
He got
One
drunk
big-
off of the potatoes. Never
Yeah.
came back.
He got drunk off the potatoes and then fell asleep in the gutter. Some nice old woman picked him up and carried him home, and then he woke up in a faraway land and he's got amnesia now.
Keep scratching, Seamus.
Yeah. Yeah, the videos on Freedom Tunes that are going up, it's actually me doing Seamus's voice, doing other people's voices. Yeah, Seamus.
You've been
yeah,
covering
listen.
for him this
That's
whole
right.
time?
That's right, because I'm a good friend. That's right. Check out Freedom Tunes on YouTube if you guys haven't. Seamus is he's gone. He abandoned us. All right. Cindy Drellick says, regarding Breaking Bad, Walter White had some funny gun scenes, but as a whole, did the show get guns and ammo somewhat right? Glad you finally saw the best TV series out there, Heisenberg. I like Better Call Saul better, except for the ending. Everything in Better Call Saul was really, really good, but the ending was really, really bad. It felt like there was no ending, you know?
I kind of don't want to spoil it. I haven't seen it, and I
Yeah,
hear it's really
don't.
good. But I didn't like Breaking Bad that
Don't.
much.
So the issue is when you're doing a prequel and people want an epilogue, the epilogue is after Breaking Bad, but the resolution of the prequel needed. So basically what happens is the show's end is an epilogue. And I felt like the prequel series itself probably should have had an explosive climax. But I guess they didn't want to do that because how do you? Because we know what happens in Breaking Bad? I don't know.
Yeah, George Lucas did that with Star Wars Episode 1 as he wrote the prequel second, but he made it he pretended like you didn't already see the Episode 4, 5, and 6 and that you were going to watch them in sequence, but everyone already knew that Palpatine was the Emperor. So it was like kind of flat.
David T says, happy to support a show that's not afraid to bring on conservative commentators like Ian Crossland. Man, he'd be a wild candidate for president.
Tim is a brave man.
First thing you do in office.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say it out loud because it's a big
I'll tell you what I
complex
do.
plan that needs to be enacted all at once.
I would immediately allocate $550 million towards the production of graphene.
Oh, yeah. Full graphene revolution. We're pulling carbon dioxide out of the air. We're doing video chats with foreign diplomats and leaders all over the world daily. We're having at least 1 to 3 hours a day on video, live. It's all about communication. If you're the president, your job is to communicate.
Can we just start firing people? That's kind of the direction I'd like to see.
I like that.
I'm
too.
open to
I like
that.
Just
Like,
abolish.
just a lot of
abolish
yes,
all of it.
Yes, aggressively.
Action Man says, I heard H3 is getting divorced. Wonder why.
I think that's
that
fake.
really?
I heard that, and then I heard it was
doesn't
fake.
sound real.
And he was awesome. But
Yeah, I don't believe that. But what is there something I didn't hear about? Is it what is
well,
it?
I heard it, and then I think Jeremy Hambley might have said, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
And then that's the last I heard about it.
Well,
That was like 2
correct
weeks
there.
ago.
Yeah.
It was like,
I-
no. Ethan said that Jeremy was getting divorced, and then Jeremy's like, no, I'm not. So then he said that Ethan was getting divorced, and then it turned out they were both lying,
Oh.
just to
Okay.
get back at each other.
They deserve each other.
yeah,
they should
love
marry each other.
They do.
Have they done a show together yet?
I hope
They
so.
should.
I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely should. Yeah. Captain Tanker Joe says, my grandpa's an interesting man. He claims to be fighting socialism and authoritarians, yet he votes Democrat. He advocates for the genocide of Russians openly. I'm certain if Stalin or Uncle H had a D next to their name, he would vote for them. Uncle H. Yeah. Not My Name says, anybody else feel like abortion is similar to a deal with the devil, with the baby being the human sacrifice? I can see that. You know, in certain circumstances, especially post-viability. It's like, I want more comfort and wealth. I know. Kill this thing and give me what I want. Oh, what's this? Matthew Dean Bodo says, did you see Kanye West apologize on the Piers Morgan show a few hours ago?
I'm definitely watching that interview later. That sounds cool.
Hostile Bogey and Bound says, H3H3 was never edgy. It has always been cringe. I guess.
No, the FUPA and the Vape Nation stuff was great.
And he had
It was
Jordan
ridiculous.
Peterson on his show.
Yeah.
But then, like, he bent the knee, got scared.
He did.
Like, there are a bunch of YouTubers from back in the day who were anti-woke. They all panicked and just started taking stuff down. Chris Reagan took down Punch a Nazi.
Yeah.
Apparently, someone told him he was helping Nazis, so he was like, okay, and then he took it down. It's like, look, man, I think there's some good in that. Someone like Chris, who knows that his whole bit was like making jokes and talking about games and movies and comedy and hanging out with his roommates, was getting dragged into a political conflict, and all of a sudden said, like, why am I in this? And a bunch of those guys said, I don't want to be political. I don't want to be in this world. I get it. Ethan went the other way. He said, I'm going to be fully political, even though I have no idea what's going on.
I got this old video, and I think it's called Pain. I have a few old videos where it's like I'm in the most depressed, hateful state of my life, and I'm talking about humans are horrible. They're dead. They're dead to me. They're gonna die. We're gonna wipe ourselves. It's like really negative, and it's
Yeah.
on YouTube. And I'm wondering, should I delete it, or is it like part of the story of what I went through?
I don't know. So you are.
Because it's like it's still putting out that energy, and I don't agree with that anymore.
I'll tell you what you can do. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com so you can watch the uncensored after show that we will have tonight at about 11 p.m. And the show from yesterday with Ammon Bundy was amazing. Plus, the Cast Castle vlog is silly, offensive shenanigans. You don't want to miss it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast. Seth, do you want to shout anything out?
Visit freedomspeaksup.com. You can find me on most social media, including Twitter, for now, at Seth Weathers.
For now. I'll see you,
You
there.
never
I'll follow
know.
you
You
on
never
there.
know.
Yep. Our time here is limited. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/We Are Change. I did a story today about General Armageddon. Yes, that's a real legitimate nickname on the new front in Kherson. Lots of very important updates. Check out that video right now on youtube.com/We Are Change.
I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to me on Minds. Get with me everywhere you want at Ian Crossland. Seth, we didn't talk about physical health on the show.
I want to get into that.
We maybe on the after show we can talk about phthalates and like what you've been doing with your diet, because like you've
Love
got
it.
like a revolutionary diet. And
I don't know. It's not revolutionary. It's very simple and basic, but I think everyone should eat steak, lift weights, be unsensible, and screw the government. That's all you need to do.
love you. Thanks for coming, man.
Great to be here.
And I'm Serge.com, and you guys will see us in the late show.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com.
Cheers.